It's a rolling, not a stop. Shit don't never stop.
Yeah.
It's a rolling, not a stop. Shit don't never stop.
Yeah.
Hey, this a
Yeah. Did it like
It's a rolling, not a stop. Shit don't never stop. Not a stop, watch shit don't never stop. Stop. Stop.
no problem with it.
Stop. It's the flow that got the block high.
No.
It's the flow that got the block high.
No problem with it.
It's the flow that got the block high. Shit don't never stop.
Yeah.
It's a rolling, not a stop. Shit don't never stop. Damn, there's a dude. It's a rolling, not a stop. Shit don't never stop.
Yeah.
It's a rolling, not a stop. Shit don't never stop.
Yeah.
Hey, this a
Yeah. Did it like
It's a rolling, not a stop. Shit don't never stop. Not a stop, watch shit don't never stop. Stop. Stop.
no problem with it.
Stop. It's the flow that got the block high.
No.
It's the flow that got the block high.
No problem with it.
Medic!
Scalpel. I'd like to thank you guys for joining us on this glorious day.
And a friend.
You aren't duping the doctor. I mean, the doctors look into your eyes.
Jeez, and the fight is over! Michael, let's go! What did I tell you fools?
What's up, boys and girls? This is UFC lightweight Michael Chandler. And I'm just telling you right now, if you don't go to YouTube and hop on the MMA Bet Surgeon channel, like and subscribe and ingest and digest some of the best UFC mixed martial arts and boxing predictions on the planet, on the internet, then you're doing it wrong. Appreciate you guys. See you at the top.
What is going on, people? We're back with another one. We're doing this shit. We continue to, push through. Keep having these weeks, man. They're just getting fucking long. Someone's got a shitload of background noise, by the way. I think it's Dougie.
That's my bad.
It's Dougie's mic's all jacked up, but it's all good. It's just because his mic's super on high, whatever, pickup or whatever. But people, we're continuing to keep on going here. We're going to keep on going whether there's 1,000 people here or nobody here. And we're just going to keep on rolling through. Yeah, I know you guys have the vicious pictures coming in today, of course. Of course.
You know what mine is?
I can't see it very close from here. My eyes are kind of shot. It's on my small computer that's pretty far away.
That's fair enough. I thought you might have noticed by the amount of torque and tension on that.
Yeah, I know what it is. It's
I'll give you a hint. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay, is it Palhares?
Because my sister said
it looks like Palhares to me.
Yeah, it's Rosemary. But I was gonna say first hint. Somebody who is renowned for continuing to crank the hell out of joint submissions after somebody taps or the ref tries to take him off. He just go. Some would say very similar to Patrick.
I've never done that before in my life. But people, like we got a pretty stellar week this week. We've already lost, a couple fights. I mean, COVID taken out, some fights that people may not know, some guys that people may not know. But I mean, we've got some reschedules on this card. At the end of the day, I think it's going to be an exciting one. I mean,
Looks spicy.
kind of pretty spicy with a little bit of with a nice little heavyweight bout to cap it off, which of course we're all going to enjoy. But people, we're probably going to get rocking. I mean, we're probably going to slide through a bunch of these early fights this week. I mean, there's, like I said, always every week a shitload of fights, and of course we got the big UFC coming up. We got the big bad UFC 260 coming up. So, I mean, fuck. I don't know. It's getting crazy, people. We obviously kind of like an overload of UFC, which you can't be mad at. Of course, when there's other combat sports that maybe aren't getting such good events, but man, UFC, other MMA promotions now starting to pick up. It's looking on the bright side. So I mean, first off for me here on my list of fights, people, I've got the Dustin Jacoby fight and Maxim Grishin. Is that what you guys have? Just to make sure. Yeah. I think we're just going to run off the topology.
Yeah,
the Sherdog looked all fucked this week. Like, they had fights up forever. I was so confused. They had it listed at 14 fights at one point. Had an extra women's fight that had been pulled like 3 days ago still in there. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. So, yeah, there's been a lot of people. Knock on wood now. Like, even last week, Dan called it. He said it would be a slaughter fest on the scales. It was a slaughter fest on the scales last week, and honestly, like, we hopefully don't have anything this week. Hopefully don't have any more bullshit. We've already kind of had a couple, the bullshit cases pop up and already had some fights pulled, but man, we're going to try and keep it rolling. I offer you this. How's it going, baby? Good to see you out again tonight. But yeah, I'm gonna lead off with this one. I mean, light heavyweight bout at 205 pounds. Dustin Jacoby, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Maxim Grishin, 6'3" with a 76-inch reach. Jacoby, 1-2 in the UFC. So people would normally look at his career and go, oh, the guy's like 1-0 in the UFC. Fuck, now I'm having these latency issues. Am I lagging here, people? You guys let me know.
I think you're good.
You're good on my end. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to keep going then. People are looking at Dustin Jacoby and maybe, saying, not as good of a guy, and looking at his record, or maybe they're thinking he's a little bit better. Him just recently coming in against Justin Ledecky in the KO win, and they're thinking, oh, this is a pretty solid guy, like this guy in the UFC. This is actually his second stint in the UFC. His original stint featured him going 0-2 in the UFC, cutting him, then him going on to have somewhat of a pretty successful kickboxing career. Kind of do with that what he did. I think he ended up winning a belt. He ended up winning like a Ryzen 3 fight in a night tournament or some shit, like when that was still going on. So that's pretty cool too. He's, like I said, 1-2 in the UFC with a 13-5 MMA record, 9 knockouts, 1 submission. Like I said, he's coming off that KO over Justin Ledet. In that fight, like, he's just coming back into the UFC. He showed some, his kickboxing skills look totally improved. His distance control looked much better than it did in other fights. He looked much more convincing when he was throwing his strikes, and convinced in what he could do with his striking power and his ability on the hands and feet. And really, against a guy like Justin Ledet, who maybe had looked to, get it to the ground and do, have a little bit of a different fight, he was getting chopped right off the bat with hard leg kicks, hard overhand shots, and pretty much it was the leg kicks. He was just chopping down that tree. Eventually ended up dropping him off the leg kicks, let him up, dropped him with the hands, and then ended up dropping him one more time with the hands. This was all in about 2 minutes into the first round. I mean, what we're kind of seeing from him is a little bit more improvement, a little bit more well-roundedness. Obviously, a 13-5 MMA record. There's nothing to hit on against that. On the other hand, here we got Maxim Grishin. Like I said, 1-1 in the UFC, 31-8-2 in his MMA career, 16 knockouts, 6 subs. He's coming off of a KO win over Antigulov. His first name is so hard to say. It's Gadzimurad Antigulov. Pretty much in that fight, it was slower fight at the beginning of the fight, kind of a slower pace throughout that fight, and then Grishin was kind of finding his range. He had the reach advantage against the shorter opponent. He was trying to, gauge him out, throw shots on, and then from there end up working. And basically what ended up happening is, he he just ended up working. It was a good fight. He looked good, and we saw some good shit from him. Like I think that Maxim Grishin, as good or as bad as you could look in his other fights, is one other fight in the UFC. I mean, this is definitely going to be a close fight between the two guys. I think it's a good way to start the night off. You know what I mean? Could be a little bit slower in the beginning, but I do expect the pace to step up. Similar to the Antigulov fight with Grishin, where he just stepped it up, kind of put the pedal down, like was landing those shots from outside. Both guys had trained with each other, so that's probably why there was a little bit more tentativeness in that fight. But basically, he didn't even really drop Antigulov. He just put enough strikes on him to the point where he was unable to, the ref ended up having to step in. So basically from the unanswered strikes, 16 knockouts, 16 subs going up against Dustin Jacoby, 9 knockouts, 1 sub. I think that the well-roundedness, the second stint for Dustin Jacoby, I think I'll probably have to ride with him for this fight. It's definitely a hard fight for me to call, especially when picking up starting the night off with. But I might have to go with Jacoby. Like I said, his second stint in the UFC, obviously his first stint went 0-2. His second stint, he's already 1-0. So we're gonna he's hopefully gonna keep that going. I mean, kind of excited to see, but yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Dustin Jacoby. What are you guys thinking?
Doug, you go first, though.
All right, I'm gonna disagree with you on this one. I have Grishin in this one. I think Jacoby's definitely the better striker. I like him on the feet more, but I like Grishin if he mixes in a few takedowns. I think he can win this one by decision or even stop him. On the feet, it's close. I could see either guy stopping either one of them on the feet. I'd expect it to go to decision. Probably favor Grishin. I think I'm not going to put any money anywhere near this one, though.
Probably not. No, probably avoid the shit out of this one, but we'll see. I'll probably always bet on the opener fight of the night.
I absolutely agree with the last thing Dougie said. I don't know if I want to bet on this fight. It's going to be a super close fight.
Yeah, I can't see how this one plays out.
If Grishin is able to use the grappling effectively in the fight, I think he could totally beat Jacoby. I think he's a very beatable guy. You know what I mean? Like, sure, like the second stint may be better, but like, even though Jacoby is the younger guy, I don't know. I think just Grishin might be able to squeak out a close one here, but only because he's the underdog. And so there's no the only lines that are out were the straight.
Is that like that for a lot of fights? Like, are we a little too early for all the? Really? Like, how many?
I think it's pretty much everything but the main events.
Like, there's no lines at all for the main events on Betway.
We'll cook through this then.
Holy shit. That's kind of a deficit to doing it tonight then, I guess.
No, but here's what we'll do. We'll just run through it like this, and then if we can find in some stuff later, or if anybody can throw some stuff, anybody wants to throw some stuff on the chat that they have on their betting sites, because Betway doesn't have it, we might have to look for something else. But yeah, let's just keep rolling through. But I think Pat, just throw out the other graphic. That's just a straight line. It has it on there.
Yeah, all I've got is minus 188 for Dustin Jacoby, plus 140 for Maxim Grishin. That's on Betway right now.
He's a little bit less of a favorite on this graphic, but it might be a bit more adjusted. Maybe taking money. But yeah, right here it says, Grishin plus 140. Yeah. I'd like to see some props on that one, but...
I'll probably go with Grishin. I don't know.
I don't even know.
I'm probably gonna end up taking, like, if I'm betting it, we'll see. I'll probably end up betting on Grishin, but we'll see.
It's hard to bet on Jacoby at that number.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not a nice line at all, but whatever. Like, fuck, these lines will change for sure.
If there's if there's good money on Jacoby decision, I'll be taking that.
What are you guys thinking about? Anything else? Because we don't have any other fucking lines in this fight, so we're gonna just roll right through this one, I guess. This next one's kind of a more exciting one, I guess. It's kind of a little bit more of a mix-up. We got a bantamweight bout at 135 pounds between Ronnie Lawrence, 5'8", with a 70.5-inch reach, taking on Vince Cachero, 5'6", with a 68-inch reach. Ronnie Lawrence is making his official debut in the UFC. He's with a 6-1 record in MMA. He's had a Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series fight. As far as Cachero goes, He's 0-1 in the UFC with a 7-3 MMA record. 2 knockouts, 2 subs for Cachero. Lawrence, 3 knockouts, no subs. In the one time we saw Ronnie Lawrence already in the UFC, we saw him in, like I said, the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, and we saw him against Josie Johnson, in which he won a unanimous decision. In that fight, he was actually even at a 4-inch reach disadvantage, and Josie Johnson being a very long guy for the weight, and it was something that I was kind of, you kind of look at and you go, okay, like this is definitely a fight where, because I remember watching the fight live, but Ronnie Lawrence just basically was in there and able to just rag Josie Johnson down consistently throughout the fight with body lock takedowns, shooting takedowns in with his punches. He was constantly eating up the leg, pretty much hurting the leg. You could tell he was very tentative with it when he was stepping on the leg. He couldn't really put weight on it and use his long reach and try and open up with some strikes, because the guy was a knockout artist, but totally neutralized by a guy like Josie Johnson. By a guy like Ronnie Lawrence. Man, I think like in that fight, even like he's even searching for these nice submissions, and you can see it consistently even throughout that fight. But it's just the guy's massive. The other guy he was fighting was massive for the weight. I don't even know, man. Like it's like he swaps up these leg kicks too. I was a huge fan of this guy watching him right off the bat, because I bet against him. I bet on Josie Johnson, and I watched the fight and I went, who the fuck is this guy? I went, well, maybe the other guy was just shit, and that's kind of what I was saying. But then I'm looking into it. I'm like looking into what this guy's done a little bit. I'm like, this guy's pretty good. I was like, this guy's pretty good. Like, I was like, this guy's no slouch. Like, he's very strong. Like, even for being a little bit smaller, his reach isn't too bad. Like I said, good leg kicks. Like I think he had a kickboxing career. As far as Cachero goes, like I said, 0-1 in the UFC with a 7-3 record. He just pretty much landing every single shot he could on Cachero. Cachero was getting outlanded at like a 2-1 clip easily throughout that fight. The thing that I saw in that fight, I just didn't even think that necessarily Cachero is of the full caliber yet, but I like the fact that they're giving, a debut guy against a guy that went 0-1 in the UFC. I like that they're doing that now. So I think it's going to be a great fight. I think that honestly, I see Ronnie Lawrence largely outclassing Cachero in this fight, pretty much, probably more than Jamal Emmers even did. I think on the hands and feet, mixing it up with the wrestling a little bit too. I think, he's going to come in with that high work rate, probably look to finish Cachero in this fight. I actually think that Ronnie Lawrence is probably going to end up finishing this fight via submission, even though he doesn't even have one yet on his pro record. I think he's going to be able to slip one in, or he's going to put Cachero part way out, or because I just see Cachero not wanting to have much of the exchanges on the hands and feet once he gets lit up a couple times, once he takes a hard couple of leg kicks, those whipping leg kicks. I think he'll probably look to take this fight to the ground. But man, the Emmers fight, like I said, being that huge advantage, being that huge kind of example of a decent striker, what they can do on Cachero. I mean, the result you got in that fight was a guy landing pretty much far more, and Jamal Emmers is probably around the same range and skill, if not a little bit worse than Ronnie Lawrence. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very close. You could call it MMA math, but I mean, like, from what I've seen on Cachero, he gets landed on a little bit too much, and as far as we've seen him in the UFC, very tentative. Ronnie Lawrence is going to take advantage of this guy. That's what I think. What do you guys think?
I completely agree with you on this one. I'm all over Ronnie Lawrence. I have him by decision as my actual pick, but now that you say submission, I'd like to see the odds on that, just because he doesn't have one, and I think he has such a big advantage on the ground that it could be there for him. But I have him by decision right now. I think he's just going to use his wrestling to control where the fight takes place. I think Cachero might be a little bit better on the feet, but I don't think it stays there very long because Lawrence is so good at controlling his wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pat, did we see much grappling in the Emmers fight or no? Or it was just because I remember there's just a lot of body kicks, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of grappling. Like you saw Emmers get takedowns too on Cachero.
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say I know Cachero's a tough guy, but yeah, like I don't know.
I don't think he got a takedown on Emmers. I think Emmers stuffed and then got some takedowns at the end.
If this guy's such a good such a profound like wrestler, then like and he hasn't got a submission yet. Like what's his like what kind of belts does he have? Like what's his grappling? Like I understand like, some guy I don't know. It's just weird. Like so there's some wrestlers.
I don't know what kind of belt he has.
It should like on paper it makes sense. Like you should just be able to like just incorporate some chokes in your wrestlers, and there's some that are like just natural within the wrestling game, and then come to you naturally. But like there's a lot of guys that just prefer like either the ground and pound, or they just don't have a tendency to for some reason. But yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards Dougie and going with the decision, because of Cachero's toughness. But yeah, this is another fight where we only have the straight lines, so we'll have to wait and see some props.
Yeah, I honestly think people
But as a slight favorite, I like him. I like Ronnie Lawrence as a slight favorite.
Do you guys know what time the card starts this weekend? Because that would be probably something good for us to say.
It says Betway is saying 6, so it's probably gonna be around like 6:30.
I've got 5.
Okay.
How many fights? 12?
UFC.
12 now.
12
Well,
fights.
if we have 12, probably be 5:30.
I think it's 12. Topology's updated, I think, with all the fights here. This is
I count
not
12.
while I'm doing it. Someone go to the Topology page and please update the news. Just to be constantly doing it to see if anything falls out. Just hit the news thing. It has all the different outlets for MMA. That's what I've been doing. I click the shit out of that thing. Because I'm just waiting to see what fights, you know what I mean? You know, fingers crossed, obviously none, but just waiting to see what ends up happening throughout the next fucking 72 hours, not even. A little bit more.
Who knows what's gonna happen at the weigh-in?
Yeah, I don't think.
Well, hold on a second.
It's all good. I think normally after having a bad weigh-in, I don't like, you know what I mean. I think it normally bounces itself right back, but we'll see, man. Like anything can happen. Dan, you want to hop over with me to this next fight and get this bitch?
Sorry, I'm good.
It's all good, man. We're probably just gonna hop over to the next one, anyways.
Yeah.
Light heavyweight bout at 205 pounds. Alonzo Menifield, 6 foot with a 76-inch reach, taking on William Knight, 5'10 with a 73-inch reach. Alonzo Menifield, 2-2 in the UFC with a 9-2 MMA record, 8 knockouts, 1 sub. William Knight, 1-0 in the UFC with a 9-1 MMA record, 8 knockouts, no subs. Man, it's kind of an exciting little fight here. I'm excited for it. As far as if you've seen a guy like William Knight, as far as his full form and structure, I should have got a full, like, I wish they had a full picture of him, but they don't. They've got kind of like a little funny one on Topology, but even still, man, he's coming off the win over Alexis Caceres. That was his debut in the UFC. Sorry. In that fight, I mean, a couple good shots exchanged. I mean, he pretty much ended up landing some heavy calf kicks. Not much going on in the first. Like William Knight, if you just look at him, and he's got the 8 knockouts, he's 9-1. He's one of these guys that goes in there and can brawl, but he does have a wrestling game as well. Basically, he got put down in a couple bad positions in the fight, and it's similar to his Contender Series fight against Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage being, a lot frame-wise a smaller guy, but had a better wrestling background, but was still just, able to get worked on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Brundage had some success at moments, but was eventually ended up reversed and then taken out. I mean, it basically becomes when you're a guy that's athletic as William Knight is, and you have the ability to put shots out there, like we've seen him do damage to Alexis Caceres' leg, and basically put punches on him throughout in bad positions, even in the third round, looking a little bit gassed, but even still hanging on, looking pretty good for a guy that rolls around with that much muscle on him. Alonzo Menifield, on the other hand, 2-2 in the UFC with a 9-2 MMA record. Like I already said, with an 8 knockouts and 1 sub. Everyone's pretty familiar with Alonzo Menifield. He's coming off the loss to OSP. I mean, that fight was a little bit kind of expected. There's been some rumors, and it's been flooding around the rumor mill even since his fight before that he was, I think it was Menifield. I could have been wrong, but there was some, the cardio issue had always been kind of something that we have always said about Menifield. We had seen it in other fights. We had seen him lose to David Branch, I believe, is the fight before.
Devin
Clark. Same. Sorry. Fuck. Close.
Close enough.
Super.
They're
super
similar.
Close.
They're similar, like builds. Kind of.
Not even just the names. Like, look at the names, but very close. But even then, like, we saw him lose a UD fight in which he kind of gassed out from a lot of clinch work and a lot of kind of close inside work from both guys. I mean, we saw a little bit of gas from a guy like Menified, and I mean that's kind of been his constant issue, if that you could say, even in the OSP fight. Like, you start that fight out and you go OSP a little bit older, but OSP had that reach advantage. I think he had about 4 inches, maybe even a little bit more, maybe even 5. OSP was just jabbing him, landing straight shots right down the pipe with no towel on them, just right down the pipe on Menified. Even in the clinch, there was a little bit of success from Menified, but he was, like I said, they had some clinch work where, you know, OSP ended up reversing out of positions, kind of winning a lot of this clinch work, landing some body shots. Like, I mean, the thing is, you see OSP, you know, walking him down and getting that confidence and stuff like that. It's like, okay, and OSP's getting that early, and OSP's not normally a fast starter. You know what I mean? OSP a little bit later in his career likes to start slow, likes to, you know, trade in, but like you see OSP walking him down a little bit. Yeah, like it's wild. It's like basically he nullified Alonzo Menified in that fight. OSP just looking great, and you saw Menified
kind of like he like big brothered him pretty much.
Yeah, and you saw like, Menified. Okay, yeah,
welcome to UFC.
Yeah, and you saw him on the stool too. You saw him on the stool, and it was like he was gassing, and I was like, "There's no chance." It was like whoever had OSP round 2, I was like, "They're done." I think Dan might have had it. I was like, whoever has OSP round 2, I was
I remember
like,
something. I'm pretty sure we were on OSP.
We were on OSP, yeah. But you might. I don't think I bet the rounds, but OSP, or I bet round 1, but round 3. But
I think we might have been on
decision. Yeah, that's what it was.
We were probably on decision. No, but we were probably thinking sub though.
It doesn't even matter. It was a great fight. I mean, OSP looked great. Like, he basically ended up, you know, after that first round, trying to walk down and establish some dominance, get some respect on OSP, and getting countered with a left hook as he walked in and slept right on his face. I mean, hard loss for him, but overall, I think this fight, you know, it's probably going to go down to be how hard are both these guys willing to go in this one. You know, both guys have had, you know, a little bit of problem with weight gain outside the octagon, and as far as when they're not in camp, and so it's going to be interesting to see these guys come in, you know, fight. And I think there's more of a cardio problem for Menified. I think just looking at both these guys, like we've seen William Knight, we saw him, you know, go the 3 rounds with Kamir, even looked good, looked decent through some wrestling exchanges with Brundage. I mean, I think he's the better guy in this fight. I think that, you know, due to his striking, I think that he's able to dictate where this fight kind of can take place. I think his wrestling's just kind of a cherry on top for him, especially his strength playing a part in there. And we've seen it. We've said, oh, well, this guy's probably going to gas pretty quick. And, you know, we've seen him fade a little bit, but honestly, I think he looks pretty good. I think he can hold a pretty good gas tank throughout. I see him probably hurting Menified and possibly finishing the fight on the ground. Maybe even getting, and I'm, fuck, now it sounds crazier the second time I say it. I'm like, maybe even getting a sub. And I'm like, well, probably not, but I see some ground and pound. I see him probably finishing him on the ground. I see him either dropping him and then finishing him there with ground and pound strikes or slipping something in, even though he doesn't have a submission yet. I don't see him looking for a submission. But I know he can work from these positions. Like, he's been on the other side of Kamir. He's been in full mount on these guys, but these guys are the wrestlers. It's like, if he gets Menified, if somehow they wind up on the ground, and he winds up on top of Menified like that, is Menified gonna, like, when Menified turns his back, is he gonna have the ability to take a couple shots, get on his knees, and get up? I don't necessarily think so. Could be wrong. I think William Knight takes this fight. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think I just think we've seen a lot of holes in Menified's game over his UFC tenure so far. Like I don't know. I don't think you touched on his first couple wins, Pat, in the UFC.
No, I didn't.
Please
you
allow
do it.
Me to.
Yeah, no, you do it. That's what you guys are here for. Go.
UFC debut against at the time 9-1 Vinicius Moreira.
I fucking didn't even notice that. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan.
What?
Thank you,
round
Dan.
1 punches. Paul Craig in his next fight. 11-3 at the time.
I knew that was there. I didn't know the Vinicius Moreira fight.
Round 1.
I didn't either.
So, like, and we have seen Paul Craig sometimes when he can't when he can't get that takedown initially, and can't work the guy to the ground when they're fresh. We've seen him get clipped before, so like, I'm like, neither of those wins are impressive to me. You've seen him exposed. I think that there's a lot of game plans for William Knight to have some success, and I think we probably see him, as you said, Pat. He's gonna wilt, and we'll probably see a finish in like late second or third round.
Could be a banger right off the bat, though. You don't even know. He could just
I don't think but that's the one thing that does scare me is we have seen William Knight. He has been finished previously in the round 1.
Who did he get finished against?
It was back CFFC. Tefan Nchukwi.
Yeah, I watched the fight recently.
And who is now in the UFC, and who was a fucking motherfucker. But.
So back when I did my Nchukwi notes, I referenced the William Knight fight. Fuck me, and I should have thought about that, and I would have clipped it and dragged it back in like I do for these fights now. Now I've got like a dictionary on my computer, fucking thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of fucking notes about fights now. Fucking crazy.
I got Knight in this one too. I think. I always go with the more complete mixed martial artist when it's a close fight. Knight is clearly the more complete mixed martial artist here. The fact that it's even is kind of surprising. I think it would be at least slightly.
Dan, you pulling up the odds? Pull them up.
There's no odds for this one either, sir.
What are their odds for, Dan? What are their odds for right now?
It's straight up.
But what are their odds for any other fights?
We'll get when we get the.
There is straight money line odds for all the fights, but that's it for most of them. There's only
We'll get there.
I think there's round betting and stuff for the main event only. I think.
We're running co-main. No,
we're running through this card right now. Let's keep rolling.
Yeah, I know, but it takes away from the whole bet
Dougie,
thing.
what's your official pick? Knight
by KO.
KO. What do you have a round or?
I'd probably go round 2. Yeah.
I do like that he's those leg kicks. If he just starts fucking.
Oh yeah.
I could see it being round 3 though. I don't know. I'll go with round 2.
I'll probably do my classic round 2-3 sprinkle, but but I also
we need LJ here to convince us to bet round 3. That always seems to work for him.
I think it'll be a straight. I think Knight will probably be the favorite by the time they enter the octagon. So I'm probably gonna throw him in a parlay sooner rather than later to get on that sweet pick'em line. But
not a bad
I think
idea.
we're ready to go into the next fight though, Pat. That's gonna be a banger though. That'll be a great fight.
That is a great fight.
I'm excited for it. I mean, as excited as you can get. How many fights are we already in?
Match.
Holy shit.
We're quarter through now, I
We're
think.
already at the old. Oh, wow, this is.
Well, yeah.
This is gonna be a fight. You want to talk about fights?
We may see LJ come out of the rafters soon.
You want to talk about fights? A bantamweight women's fight at 135 pounds between Alexis Davis, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach, and Sabina Mazzo, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. Alexis Davis 6-5 in the UFC with a 19-10 MMA record. Sabina Mazzo 3-1 in the UFC with a 9-1 MMA record. Alexis Davis 2 knockouts, 8 subs. Sabina Mazzo 2 knockouts, 1 sub. Alexis Davis 3 straight losses. Sabina Mazzo 3 straight wins. This is gonna be a firefight, folks. I mean, we haven't even seen we haven't seen Alexis Davis in the UFC and I'm Dan. We gotta. She's a vet. She's a women's UFC vet.
No,
sure. Think she's got to win over Amanda
19-10,
Nunes.
bro. Like if you're a woman, you're 19-10. That means you've been around.
I think she's got to win over Amanda Nunes.
At 36 years old, not many women hanging around with that kind of record.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's coming off the Viviane Arroyo fight.
Pro win since 2007. Damn, son. Like,
Dan,
crazy.
win against the champ, man.
Yeah. Back in 2011, Strikeforce. Wow.
It's a beautiful thing, especially to say she's Canadian too. So might have to slap some late money on her. But she's coming off the Viviane Arroyo fight in which UD lost. Viviane Arroyo, we've seen her a couple times in the UFC recently. She's pretty active, and she's one of these girls that's the only thing that'll ever pretty much is going to hold her back is her cardio, because she can throw her hands. And in this fight, Alexis Davis, all the credit to her, she used her head as a shield for a good majority of the fight, and that's kind of the problem. I mean, she just took a lot of damage. That's why I don't even know if there was a different reason why she took a lot of time off, because she hasn't fought since mid to late 2019, or maybe it was, a whole other reason, but even still, welcoming her back into the UFC now. I mean, this is going to be a hard fight against Sabina Mazzo, because in the Arroyo fight, you have a girl that's able to land punches and move very well. Arroyo obviously at a higher clip than Mazzo. Like, Arroyo just throws till she's out of gas. Like, I think she landed 60 significant strikes to like 12 significant strikes for Davis in the first round. Like, she just throws till she's out of gas. And even in the fight, you see Davis trying to close distance well. You see her actually cutting off Arroyo when she needs to, because when she sees Arroyo fading, she's enough of a seasoned vet to know when she's got to press the fight, enough to know when she's going to, this girl's fading, this is my opening to shoot, this is my opening to throw kicks. And her kicks were working kind of well. Like I said, the whole thing, she's just had a problem moving her head and not getting hit with punches to the head. When she got her down to the ground and she was in the guard, she was able to work really well, landing some good elbows, some significant strikes from there. She does have a decent ground game. You can see it with 8 subs, but even still, it's a little bit testy, and especially against a girl like Mazzo. 2 knockouts, 1 sub. Like I said, she's coming off of the 3 straight wins. Alexis Davis is coming off of 3 straight losses. Mazzo's latest win was against Justine Kish, in which she got a submission. She was pretty much getting pressed after landing some kicks in the beginning. She was able, she's got these super long legs. We'll see it on Saturday. And she was just using that leg kick, mixing it up to the high kick. And that's pretty much, where she was able to have a lot of success in this fight. And that was kind of her turning point in the fight. Even though Justine Kish winning this fight throughout, all the way up into the 3rd round, and where her coaches are pretty much telling Mazzo, you got to go for it. You got to push, because she's kind of fighting on the back foot, getting pressed by the girl that's at the reach disadvantage, and the girl that's at the reach disadvantage is comboing the kicks in perfectly, landing perfectly, attacking the legs, the long legs that are there to attack. I mean, pretty much you see a kind of turn of events in that 3rd round. She comes out, presses the action, looks to land more head kicks, looks to put more punches down, and ends up having success with the same kick she had success with early on in the fight, which was the high kick. She ended up landing the high kick and then pretty much dropping her and getting that RNC right away. Beautiful little win, right? Especially it's like a come from behind in that 3rd round. I think it's a hard fight to call, though. You have the youth in someone who was very active last year. In comparison, you have, like, obviously in Sabina Mazzo. In comparison, you have Davis, solid ground game, even some decent striking, eats tons of shots to the head and the face. And with the length of Mazzo, could be a long night for her. Although what we've seen from both women, I believe Davis could lead some grappling exchanges. Obviously, us not knowing, what she's going to look like since 2019. She could look way better, right? This could have been what she needed as a break, right? This could be it, right? Like, she could be ready to go on her last little roll in the UFC and then retire. Or fight as long as she wants to keep on fighting. She's only around 35 years of age, 36 years of age, I believe. But even then, she's now once again moving up to her career to bantamweight, even though she fought majority of her, her big name fights against these high level women, like Ronda Rousey at bantamweight, like I don't remember her name.
Sorry, what were you asking, Kyle?
Nothing. I was just referencing some of the names, but she's fought a bunch of high level names, like we were kind of saying. She's been here forever. I think I kind of want to see this one on the scales a little bit, because this fight's probably going to be a really hard one to call, just because of the inactivity of Mazzo, as far as kicks and punches. Yeah, inactivity. I'm talking about striking. Sorry, it was strikes. Like, it's like she just kind of takes her foot off the gas. I think that a girl like Davis pairing like the wrestling, like being a little bit more seasoned, knowing how to deal with a girl like this, it's like, I don't think this fight was on short notice, so I think both these girls are going to come in here ready to fight. I think that Alexis Davis might have some tricks up her sleeve, and I want to see her, what she looks like in shape. I want to see her on, maybe do like one of those interviews, even though this is undercard, so they won't have those interviews. But even still, I think that it's probably going to be a fight of Mazzo winning and possibly if knocking her out bad enough, sending her into retirement. You know what I mean? I think that's possibly what we're gonna see, and I think that's probably my pick. I'm probably gonna end up going with Mazzo, not by knockout or submission. I think I just might go by decision, just because Alexis Davis is a tough ass bitch, tough ass woman.
Whoa, that was a crazy twist ending at the end of that. I thought, though, by the breakdown, you were going with Davis. I thought you were going to go with...
well, I'm going to put money on Davis for sure. The Canadian, girl. I have to. Well, she's been living in the States for a couple minutes now.
We don't have to... We don't obviously, people... Shut up. What are you fucking... Shut up. She's not going to fucking do Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in Port Colborne, is she?
I don't know, man.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll just get to my part. I definitely agree with you as far as I want to see her on the scales before I do put any kind of money on her. After from like late 2019. So yeah, it's quite a while. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but no, I think she definitely has what it takes to give Mazzo a good test. We've seen her lose to not amazing competition before. In Mariana Moros, she's not bad. I think it's 10-3, but not ridiculous. Having lost to obviously Angela Hill in 2018, who we'll get to Angela Hill later, but Angela Hill 2018 isn't Angela Hill 2019 and 2020 either. So yeah, I don't know. I just think that Alexis Davis definitely has the ability to win this fight over the distance. Just having that veteran knowledge and that experience with very tough competition and all that octagon time, and but yeah, that biggest factor being the layoff. So we'll wait for the weigh-ins to bet this one, but definitely not touching Mazzo as an underdog unless there's really appealing props.
Yeah, what are the lines? I can't read the lines from here, so can someone tell me them?
Plus 190 underdog for Davis, and
say that again.
Plus 190 underdog for Davis, minus 245 favorite for Mazzo.
Oh, might not even touch those.
Yeah, I don't know. I
might not even touch
it's a
this
dog
fight
for
at
pass
all.
for me, but
no, it's not.
I need to see Mazzo by decision because I think Mazzo by decision is the only way I really see this fight going.
If there's good value on that, I agree. I will definitely put money on that.
Can you guys check another bet site, like one of those those sports betting ones, see if they have the lines out yet? Why are the lines not out? Don't they normally have them out by now? We normally do these on Wednesdays.
It depends on the card though too. Like they're not as keen on a fight night to get the lines out as a.
Well, we haven't had an issue with we've done them Wednesday for the last fucking. I don't know.
No, I don't have anything till we get to the main card.
That's fucking weird. Oh,
no, that's fine.
We're close to the main card anyways.
We're running through.
Yeah, I know. We're close. We're close to the main card anyways. Exactly.
Everybody's got to tune in live to get these live props on fight night.
Yeah, we're gonna probably chop it up a little bit earlier. We'll probably schedule it for 25 minutes.
Or go follow the surgeon, the MMA bet surgeon on Twitter. Maybe you'll tweet some.
I'm not tweeting any bets. I don't use Twitter really.
Maybe if people follow you.
I couldn't even find your Twitter.
Put it in the chat or something like that. I'll put it in the chat. But LJ, sorry, my apologies, Dougie. Dougie, you have anything else to add to this one before we head on to the next?
No, I think Davis is tough as hell. But I think Mazzo's a better mixed martial artist. On the hands, on the feet, on the mat. I think she wins this fight by decision pretty easily.
Yeah. I want to see the odds on it for sure.
Easily? Come on. You don't need to throw that in there. What are you talking
about? Okay, maybe not. It's a tough fight, but I think it's a good test for someone, but she should be able to pass the test.
But it's her toughest fight
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But I think it's a test she should be able to pass.
I probably agree with that.
We've also seen it's not an uncommon thing to see in women's MMA to see a young prospect looking past a more veteran person and losing a close decision. So yeah. But like I said, if the value's there, you'll see me betting it. Okay, let's move on to the next.
Next fight up, we got a welterweight bout at 170 pounds between Alex Cowboy Oliviera, 5'11", with a 76.5-inch reach, taking on Ramazan Kuramagomedov, because I don't think it's Nurmagomedov. That's what I think I originally pronounced it as yesterday. I think it's Kuramagomedov.
I believe you're right now.
Yes. Kuramagomedov. Yes, Kuramagomedov. That's what I heard, and I was like, I fucked that up yesterday. I was like, whatever. 6 foot with a 73-inch reach. Alex Oliviera, 11-7 in the UFC with a 22-9-1 record, 12 knockouts, 5 subs. Ramazan's making his debut, other than his Dana White Contender Series fight, 8-0 in his MMA career. 1 knockout, 4 subs for him. They talk about. The one thing I want to make a side note about this, I don't know if you guys have heard this, if you've watched this guy fight, they talk about his on broadcast, they talk about this guy being like 12-0 as a pro, and it doesn't make any sense, but that might have been them just fucking it up that night and me over listening to that, but I was like, that doesn't make any sense why they're saying that. I'm like, but yeah, 1 knockout, 4 subs for him. Basically, you see Alex Oliviera. We've watched him in tons of fights throughout his UFC career. This guy's a UFC vet. He's very crafty throughout, able to throw a lot of strikes from different positions. Very athletic, able to pretty much make you, if you want to put shots on him, not be able to put those shots on him, and you're going to end up either slowing down or you're going to end up being confused. And when you're confused, he's going to put shots on you. As far as the Shavkat Rakhmonov fight, he's coming off that fight. That's a submission loss for Oliviera. Or it's Oliviera. Oliviera was looking to pretty much fight from a distance throughout that fight. He was getting clipped, moving back with a knee early on in that fight, and a hook. And at that point, pretty much, he was working at the side of the fence. He was trying to lock up the guillotine, and get the sub before the end of the round. And he was basically able to. I mean, Shavkat Rakhmonov pretty much hurt him quickly and was able to lock that sub up. And right, like, even if you didn't even, like, you see Oliviera try to take that fight to the ground because he's getting hurt. And he's like, I'm going to get this fight to the ground. Right when he goes to the ground, he gets caught in a nice guillotine by Shavkat. And, I mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes. As far as the Peter Sabota fight, he's coming off of more of a UD win, in which it was kind of a little bit more of a grindier fight for a guy like Alex Oliveira. We've seen him come off some big fights. We've seen him fight Cowboy a couple of years ago. I mean, like, he's been all around the circuit fighting tons of different people. I mean, he's fought some of the best guys. I mean, he's definitely up there. And as far as getting this fight and coming in on short notice for a guy like Ramazan Kuramagomedov, which I was telling you guys about yesterday. If you guys are checking out on the podcast, check us out every Tuesday, Combat Cannon. I was talking about that yesterday, about this fight, being on short notice. I mean, we're seeing him coming off, basically get this fight off short notice. He didn't get the nod from Dana when he got his Dana White. It was a split decision win over Jordan Williams. We've seen Jordan Williams, talked about him before on the podcast and talked about him on the breakdowns. Hell of a fighter. He's got hell of a heart, hell of a chin. He can walk through pretty much anything. I even thought maybe in that fight he might have even won that fight. Definitely close, split decision. That fight was at 185 pounds though. So Ramazan now fighting, and did fight another fight post Jordan Williams fight against a guy named Trevor Olesen in a Russian Fighting Federation league or some other type of league, in which he was able to get the submission win. And that fight was at 170 at welterweight as well. So I think he's kind of just leaning out a little bit here. Obviously when you get offered fights in the Contender Series, you're going to take them regardless of where you're at, regardless of what point you're at. You're just going to take those fights. I mean, even in that fight, he was switching stances pretty well, looking to kick the leg, had a good jab, had some good shots landed on him. He was moving well, but he got pretty much partially wobbled. Sorry, I'm smoking these fucking dabs, people. I was ripping dabs right before. I had to hawk a loogie, and I was trying not to the whole time, and I was like, oh, how long can I go without hawking this fucking loogie? And then boom, had to hawk the loogie. But as far as Jordan Williams, I mean, he was moving well, getting partially wobbled, like Ramazan was wobbling Jordan Williams. He was even getting wobbled. It was kind of a back and forth fight. Like I said, the chin of Jordan Williams is something he kind of stands on in these fights. So Ramazan kind of expecting to go in there and take this guy out was kind of like, oh fuck, I could even tell, even from the first opening shots when he first wobbled Williams, he was like, he kind of put a little bit too much into it and ended up fading a little bit, but both guys put on an amazing performance. There was not many takedowns attempted throughout the beginning. But then once he partially rocked Williams again, he shot him for a TD after and was able to get it partially, and then Williams was able to work his way back up to the feet. I mean, it was like a slugfest throughout. I mean, both guys moving well, but I think definitely somewhat you saw a little bit of a slight skill gap. Ramazan looked pretty good, I think, with a little bit more sharpening. Obviously, this is a young kid. Like, he's only like 23, like my age, or 22, and or just turning 23, and he's a killer. So I think this guy at 170, I think really it's a close fight to call. I think Ramazan, I think we see him doing well at welterweight, not at middleweight, obviously, like we've seen him prior to Jordan Williams. I just don't think he has the strength there. I think that truly it's going to make a difference, but regardless of his background, I think he's going in against a guy like Oliveira, and I mean, he's going to use his experience against the young man. I like that, like I was kind of saying before, show him there's levels to this kind of game. I think the wrestling from Ramazan is going to be much more utilized in this bout than what we kind of saw in the Jordan Williams bout, especially with Oliveira being so dangerous on the hands and feet at certain times. And I see some openings for, Oliveira to possibly sneak something sneaky in and maybe partially rock him. And then in that case, I would see him shooting a takedown. But there might even be, I kind of want to see what Ramazan looks like at 170. I kind of want to see him on the scale and stuff like that. I kind of want to see him moving around. But as far as, I don't know, I think Oliveira is going to be smart to come out and try and push the pace from a distance on Ramazan. Probably kick the legs a lot and make Ramazan shoot. I think it's definitely a hard fight to call. I don't even have a pick for this fight yet. But I think that I'm probably going to have to go for Kuramagomedov. I think I'm going to have to go for him. But I mean, I think there's always a chance that you see a guy like Alex Oliveira go out there and show them that there's levels, especially with he's got like a little 3.5-inch reach advantage to play with, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So we could be anything. I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
You go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I don't have a real pick for this fight either. I've looked at Oliveira a lot because I was ready for him to fight. Was it Randy Brown this week? And then Ramazan came in just a few days ago. But Ramazan's an interesting prospect, especially moving down to 170. And I want to see him on the scales. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm going to be putting any money on this one unless I see something over the next few days. But I'd probably take Ramazan just because it's another one of those test fights. And for his sake, I'm hoping he passes so that we get another interesting prospect in that division.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, we could see him doing some Hamzat type shit going up. Yeah, I'm really curious to see if he can make this 170 at short notice. That'd be really impressive. But and he looks like he could be draining himself too, right? Like if this guy's taking this on short notice, he's not working his body down to the weight. Like obviously we've seen him fight at both weights before, but and go back and forth. So gives me a little bit of confidence, but it was always a bit interesting on short notice. And I always hate betting on Cowboy Oliveira fights. It's terrible. It's like, I don't know. I feel like I've never won money on one of those fights ever. It's always like something crazy goes happen. It's complete opposite of what I actually think is gonna go down. But no, I agree. Pretty much what kind of both you guys are saying. I'm leaning towards the young prospect and at only a slight favorite. He'll probably wind up in some of my bets.
Rob's bedtime is time. I hear that. Any other fights for this? Any other thoughts for this fight, guys, or no? No?
No, I think I'm good on this one.
Moving on. Another kind of little exciting fight here. We got a lightweight bout. I think this is the first bout of the main card here, correct? Yes, it is. Or no, preliminary. Holy fuck. This is feature prelim. Yeah, okay. Lightweight bout at 155 pounds between Alexander Hernandez, 5'9", with a 72-inch reach, taking on Thiago Moises, 5'9", with a 70.5-inch reach. Alexander Hernandez, 4-2 in the UFC with a 12-3 MMA record, 5 knockouts, 2 subs. Moises, 3-2 in the UFC with a 14-4 MMA record, 3 knockouts, 6 subs. Hernandez is coming off the knockout win over Chris Gritzmacher. In that fight, we saw him eating some heavy leg kicks and trading those leg kicks pretty much just back just as heavy. He was throwing some crisp shots up the middle, some crisp 1-2s, and exiting well. He was landing the hard overhand at will. The leg kicks were working well for him throughout. Kind of Gritzmacher got away from it a little bit, like how you do after the opening and after you trade them. but Hernandez stayed on them throughout the fight. He ended up wobbling Gritsmacher with the left and then landed a beautiful little 1-2-3 against the fence, slumping him and causing the ref to stop the fight. As far as the Drew Dober fight, that was his prior fight to the Gritsmacher fight. That was a KO loss to Drew for Alexander Hernandez. In that fight, we saw, both men trading light on the feet, both men landing the leg kick. Hernandez was kind of getting the good single leg briefly. Dober was able to stuff some takedowns consistently. There was a lot of good wrestling exchanges that Drew Dober was kind of able to dominate, actually. Like, I thought that Hernandez would kind of be a little bit more, dominant in those positions, but even when throughout that fight, when Hernandez was kind of getting walked down and kind of hit with all these shots, and you could tell he was hurt. He was kind of skating around the outside of the out of the outside of the octagon, and he was looking hurt, looking like he might go down. And pretty much you saw him getting rocked, you saw him getting landed on, and then he ended up getting rocked late, landed on in the second. He ended up shooting for the takedown instantly as he's rocked, and wasn't able to keep him down. They get up again. They do the same thing again. He gets rocked and dropped again, looks for the takedown, not able to get it. And then the last time he finally just gets dropped by Dober and the fight is stopped. I mean, as far as Thiago Moises goes, he's coming off the UD win over Bobby Green, in which, Bobby Green was able to get the UD. Thiago Moises is coming off the UD loss to Bobby Green, in which he was picking shots. You saw Bobby Green pretty much just pick a lot of shots with his hands down, use slick head movement. What we saw from Moises is him have a lot of problems with a guy who was a little bit more confident in striking, but a guy he still had a lot of good things to work on and a lot of good things to work with throughout that fight. He was able to shoot a couple of takedowns. They weren't too well set up because he wasn't able to land the shots on Bobby Green, which is kind of the whole problem. Like, if you're not landing punches or strikes and you're looking for the takedown and that's your goal is to eventually get there, I mean, it's not really the best thing if you can't land the strikes on the guy, and he was having a little bit of a problem landing some shots on him in that fight. I mean, little bit of a problem. I mean, as far as the rest of that fight went, it was pretty much a fight in which we saw Bobby Green dominating from the outside. We saw, him actually get and push and get that takedown a couple times. He went for a leg lock. Bobby Green gets out of it. Even then, Bobby Green starts stuffing a couple TDs, gets a takedown of his own, gets a little bit of ground and pound. I mean, what we see from Thiago Moises and I mean, what we've seen from him before is he's very good on the ground. He can get it. Of course, if he can get it there, he's even better. But if he will have a problem with certain guys that are able to pick shots and not let him land. If you want to get into a firefight with them, that's definitely a problem because Thiago Moises is one of these guys that's been, he's been in wars before and he's never been knocked out in his career. You know what I mean? So it's like you look at the Michael Johnson fight, like that was a submission win for him. And that's even a good example. Michael Johnson's outstriking him in the first round, arguably getting a 10-8 in my eyes. Like, you'd score that nowadays, you'd see that first round and you'd say, well, Michael Johnson just 10-8'd Thiago Moises in the first round. He was just putting beautiful shots on him right down the middle, working the body like a piece of meat, just beautiful hooks. Even as he's Moises is trying to escape altercations, he's throwing these hooks from distance and catching Moises in perfect position. I mean, you see Michael Johnson dominate that fight against him, and Michael Johnson always has these lapses. And as good as Michael Johnson is, Michael Johnson's fought top of the top, but you see some of these strikes, and Michael Johnson's not one of these guys that's throwing strikes with the heat like that all the time, and Michael Johnson's not looking to knock you out, especially now. Maybe later as the fight goes, but especially not off the bat. He's just throwing those strikes right down the middle. And I think when I see that, and I go, if he lets Alexander Hernandez throw at him, and Alexander Hernandez pushes pace like that and gets the kind of range, works the leg kicks, and, uses that slight little bit of reach and just gets off first and is aggressive, I think if he lets Alexander Hernandez land the same kind of punches that he let Michael Johnson, I mean, I think he's going to go to sleep. But at the same time, I think that, we've seen Alexander Hernandez, when he's pressed, he has a problem with it. On the other hand, Thiago Moises, from what we've seen, likes to play at range when he's in his other fights, likes to be able to leg kick you like we saw in the Bobby Green fight, likes to kind of work, move, kind of be a little bit more dynamic. and kind of pick shots from a distance. But if he's getting the fight dictated to him and he's not able to land, it's a problem for him, right? Especially with him being just predominantly having more ground game ability than some would say boxing and stand-up. But the Michael Johnson fight, he was able to, basically able to kind of like the same thing he tried against Bobby Green. He shot in, he got that right at the start of the second, got that leg kick, and ended up submitting him. Got that leg lock and was able to submit him. I think it's like one of those things, right? Like Hernandez could get caught in it. Anyone can get caught in it, right? I mean, it just happens, right? Bobby Green was able to get out of it, this, that, and the third. But I mean, I see Moises being pretty much a little bit outgunned throughout the first. I think that if Moises lets Hernandez get started early and kind of get off and not, throw anything back or be a little bit more reluctant like we've seen in past fights, I think that, we're going to see Hernandez probably open up, chip away with leg kicks, walk him down with strikes, combo those strikes and body kicks in with his punches. I think Hernandez has the defensive wrestling to keep this fight in the area where he can be more dominant if he's choosing to make the right shots and stuff like that, especially with him switching camps now and moving to Denver, Colorado, and just packing up and moving away. We saw him in the Gritzmacher fight kind of go in there a little bit more focused, looked like he knew kind of more solidly what he needed to do to get a win in that fight. I think that, like I said, if Moises wears a lot of these strikes in the first, he could definitely get finished. I think that it's hard to call because we could see Moises, but we've never seen Moises finish before. And at the same time, is Hernandez going to look for the finish too much, or is he going to be smart, have the smart game plan to say, look, this guy's never been finished. We're going to relax a little bit here. We're not going to go crazy and try and go knock this guy out all, right off the bat. Like, we're going to be smart. You know what I mean? So I think that in this fight, I think I'm going to pick Hernandez. Another fight I want to see on the scale a little bit, just because I want to see how well Hernandez makes weight, or if he has a problem making weight. Not that I don't think he ever has before, but it's just something I need to see from these two guys, because something tells me that Moises is going to be able to take some of these hard shots from Hernandez. Hernandez is going to have to show heart in this fight. You know what I mean? So we're going to see, people. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great fight. Like, I think obviously it's going to be in the featured prelim for a reason. Two guys, obviously, we got Moises had 14-4 and Hernandez is 12-3. Like, both even in that respect. We've seen him have good nights, seen them both have bad nights in some respects. So I think it's all queued up for a banger to head us into the main card. But it's really hard to pick against Hernandez. I think a lot of the things that you highlighted, Pat, his ability to keep it on the feet, have a little bit of that reach. We love those guys that are heading to Denver. That's just
exactly, right.
That was dangerous up there.
They said he just packed up and moved there too, eh? Like, he just threw his shit in the car and
I
left.
love that shit.
After the knockout loss to Drew Dober, right? Like, I'm out of here.
Well, yeah, obviously we've seen things. Obviously we saw going into that Cowboy Cerrone fight a while ago, like talking all that shit to Cerrone, saying, "I'm gonna fold you up like a chair, you old man," and shit like
reference,
that.
But listen, this
no,
is
but that's the shit you got to do to Cerrone, though. But I understand that. Like, you can't be the friend to him. You can't.
This is a guy who did, Dan. You're right. Come into the UFC and make his appearance with, I believe, knocking out Beneil Dariush, right? Like, he starched him in the first round, right? I'm not wrong, right? He starched him.
Could be.
I'm pretty sure that's how he made his UFC entrance.
Yeah, UFC 222.
So that puts a big target on your back. That pushes you up the rankings. That gives you the fights you want.
I have to rewatch that.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, I got Hernandez here. Pretty much same reasons as you guys. I like his ability to keep it standing. I think it's going to be a fight that takes place 99% on the feet. There might be a couple of shots and scrambles, but if Hernandez can keep it up, I like him to just outpoint Moises. I think the line looks a bit wide here. I'm seeing minus 185 for Hernandez. I think it might even have gotten steeper. So we'll have to see what he is on decision. We'll have to see what he is on decision.
That's for sure, especially with Moises never being finished before, or at least knocked out. So.
I like that, but like Pat says, like, the guy gets hit, so Hernandez has some power. Like, if you can put a guy like Beneil Dariush out,
Exactly. Yeah, there's a good point right there too. Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't been knocked out.
Maybe if the knockout has crazy odds because Moises has never been finished, there might be some value there.
Exactly. See, people, we wish we had these lines for you, but they fucked us this week. People, they came through.
Tune in live.
Mark, but I see you here, Mark, man. I appreciate you showing up, man. And if I don't know if you're just saying that you've got him winning on distance, but if you have him on your betting app, let us know what betting app you're using. If you already have distance lines and shit like that for these UFC
please
fights.
let us know.
If you do, because we'll just use it as a reference point for some of the rest. Even though in this main card, I think we do have distance lines, right? You said that?
I don't know, but
is this next card? Yeah, okay, here we'll move on to the next one, and we'll keep flying through these. No, sorry.
That was a nice, clean, like pretty much an hour for the whole, a little bit less for the whole prelims. Pretty.
And then we got an absolute killer of a fight. Does this one have? Let me know right now, Dan, if it does. If not, I want you to go to another thing.
I think I might be able to find it on 365.
I need you to find me some decision lines, some round lines, so we can pull them up. I need it for this main card, man.
I got some shit on 365.
Okay, perfect. Just pull that up, and I'll throw it up after you do the breakdown. This is a featherweight fight at 145 pounds between Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres. Now shaved the afro. I mean, it's gone. The Bruce Leroy. He's into his prime now. He's he's on a little bit of a win streak too here. He's a little bit hot. 12-10 in the UFC with a 17-12 MMA record, 3 knockouts, 6 subs. Kevin Croom on the other hand, this is a guy who's even got a little bit even more hype coming around him. You know what I mean? A guy who comes off of comes off the short notice call. I think it was 4 or 5 days the first time we saw him against Roosevelt Roberts in his UFC debut, and I mean that was crazy. He came in there and he was able to put on a performance that I don't think made anybody forget the hard-hitting hillbilly, Kevin Croom. He's 1-0 in the UFC with a 21-12 record, 6 knockouts, 10 subs, so he's got that ability to kind of mix it up in a lot of different spots, and he's got an extensive career behind him. I think we'll look at him first. He's coming off the Roosevelt Roberts win, in which, like I said, UFC debut, impressed a lot of people, was able to show a lot of people that, holy shit, who is this guy? Because Roosevelt Roberts only had 2 losses at the time of that fight. It was about 10-2. Throughout that fight, you saw this kind of good little twitchy head movement from Kevin Croom. He was able to sit down on a lot of good punches, but pretty quickly throughout that fight, I don't even know how long it took, maybe like a minute and a half, not even. You just saw, not even the intros were done, so maybe a minute. You see, like they were playing a commercial still, thinking the fight was just opening up. And you see Croom sit down Roberts with a huge left hand. You see him hop on the neck quickly and sink in the guillotine. I mean, this is a guy who's, kind of exciting when it comes to this, because you look at some of his other fights, right? We go back, right? We go, okay, well, what was your fight before the UFC? And you go, well, right before he got this call, I think it made sense that he got the call. I don't remember what the organization's name was. It wasn't LFA, because he had already fought in LFA before and may have even won a belt in LFA. But it was a different organization. It was a belt for the 145-pound champion, and a guy in Anderson Hutchinson, and they were both going at it. And I mean, that was a pretty good fight, man. I watched that whole fight. That was 5 rounds, man. And that was a 5-round grueling fight for Kevin Croom. Throughout that fight, I mean, he was looking to chop the legs. He was being walked down throughout the fight by the guy who's got a little bit more of a heavy wrestling game, heavy submission game, and trying to look to counter with some overhands, using kind of that similar twitchy kind of weird head movement. It's a very nice little thing he adds to his game, and he feints punches very well. Like he makes you think things, different shots are coming, and the reason why you're so scared of that is because you see a guy like Kevin Croom, you don't see a lot of what he does well in the Roosevelt Roberts fight, but in other fights you see him use different ranges. So we're seeing him use elbows, step in elbows. He'll step in the jab and then go elbow off the jab right off the bat. This is a guy who's I think bringing a little bit more skill than what we think is behind him, as far as you look at it. Oh, well, you just starched Roosevelt Roberts. People might be on the up and up, but I mean, I think a lot of people are maybe thinking Alex Caceres, a guy who's been in the UFC for a long time, and it's hard to go against him, right? You've got a guy who's been in since The Ultimate Fighter. I mean, since one of the early days, right? I believe it was season 12. I mean, it's man. But like I said, in the Anderson Hutchins fight between Kevin Croom and him, that was a fight in which Kevin Croom was pretty much able to pace him throughout the fight. He kept up the pace throughout the rounds, rarely slowed, throwing strikes, throwing shots, throwing kicks, mixing it up very well, and ending up being able to out-tempo him, get a couple of takedowns, look for the back a couple times. The problem is he does look for chokes in some pretty wild positions that lead to his opponent kind of getting advantage, but he's able to get up from these positions as well. I think that his wrestling and his ground game is pretty overrated. I think that, it's just a matter of time. Obviously with 10 submissions already, he's pretty much made that well known, but he can jump on something if you give it to him, and that's for sure. As far as Alex Caceres goes, we're seeing him come off the win over Austin Springer, in which that was a very good fight as well. Kind of another surprise fight. I mean, not really so much because Austin Springer, not being a little bit older, not the greatest. I think he was a guy coming out of the Contender Series. That was a submission win for Alex Caceres, like I said, but pretty much throughout the start of that fight, we saw both guys coming out. Caceres in his more karate style, like he calls himself, Bruce Leroy, landing some good high kicks, wobbling Springer early, and that was already a telltale sign. You could see that Springer starts throwing back some leg kicks, throwing back some kicks himself. But then you see Caceres just use his patience, walk him down patiently. Springer ended up eating a jab and then a body shot. He ended up shooting for a takedown that was pretty sloppy. Caceres pretty much just transitioned to the back right away. It looked like the body shot pretty much hurt him. It looked like in that takedown just being so sloppy, I was like, why is he even doing it? Caceres transitions right to the back super quickly, whoop, and chokes him out. It was a beautiful little fight. As far as the Chase Hooper fight, we saw Alex Caceres pretty much just dominate a fight in which Chase Hooper was looking to try and get on the ground, try and take the feet to, try and take the ground, try and take the game to, where it was going to be more successful for him to win. We know a guy in Chase Hooper who hasn't had much experience, as a younger guy, one of the youngest guys in the UFC. And, he just kind of got a little bit outclassed. He kind of got shown what a full MMA repertoire kind of looks like when you're able to put it all together. You know what I mean? We saw Caceres able to, defend the takedowns, but look very good on the hands and feet. Even get in some dominant positions on the ground himself. Avoid the submissions from Chase Hooper. A little bit more of a slow-paced fight, like I said, UD win, but Alex Caceres now being on a 3-fight win streak. Kevin Croom, 4-fight win streak if you count his other fights from other organizations. I think some of this is gonna, obviously kind of like I said, Croom is pretty much very rich in experience, a lot more rich in experience than people think. Like I said, coming off the 4 straight wins, able to retain his belt in the last championship fight before he got his UFC short notice call, which he really impressed. I think this fight to me is a good feeler out to see if what he's bringing to the UFC is kind of the right level caliber for what for what it has, especially at that weight. I think especially when he's given a smaller opponent that's, got a little bit more of a similar reach to him, is a guy that, has a little bit more well-rounded skills, has the time in the UFC. Not even to mention Caceres, like I said, coming off his own 3-fight win streak. I think definitely this is an exciting one. I think we're going to see some technical striking from Caceres shine throughout. I think that we expect to see pretty much relentless pressure from Croom from the opening bell. Whether it's takedowns or strikes, this is just another opportunity in my eyes for him to impress. Especially with his last fight in the UFC. He was already making mention of it today, people. Already talking about it. Unfortunately, and you know me, I don't count this shit. Why the fuck would I? The Roosevelt Roberts fight, he did end up testing positive for THC in his system, especially it being on short notice. You know what I mean, right? It's kind of hard to get that shit out of your body on, a 6-day notice. So that fight ended up overturned. The UFC said, fuck the commission. We understand it's kind of bullshit. That's why it's officially not a banned substance in the UFC anymore. But basically they ended up paying him his win bonus is $50K anyways. So all was good in that, but it didn't officially count as a win, right?
Yeah,
so it's yeah.
Bullshit.
So, but I
overturned
like I said,
that shit.
Stay
in the guillotine against fucking Roosevelt Roberts. Like, come on,
yeah,
man. Give that guy that win back. That's garbage.
Yeah, I like Croom in this one. Actually, I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I think he's going to be super aggressive and go out there and finish Caceres.
Yeah, you do, eh?
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily.
Dan, you got lines for this?
I don't know. I think I'll be more so betting on it straight up. I don't know. I think it's kind of a coin flip if he's gonna be able to get him out of there or not. Just kind of depends on kind of the pace of the fight we see and like how much Caceres is able to implement his own kind of game plan early on in the fight. But no, I definitely like Croom to win this fight.
Dan, you got the lines for this one?
Yeah, hold on up right now.
But yeah, I think that Kevin Kroom's definitely one of these guys that we're gonna definitely see probably excel in this fight. I think just show his level of talent in the UFC. I see it, Dan. Mark, thanks for posting up some lines. We got some lines now.
That's whack.
So they don't even have main card lines for this fight on Betway. They're slacking. Imagine they just don't put them up this week. What would you think about that?
I don't know. Like,
why would they do that?
Why would they do that? That's
yeah,
just
exactly.
Losing money.
Lose money.
That's like hundreds of my dollars alone that they just be losing.
I was gonna say zoom in a little bit. Can you zoom in a little bit?
What are you, blind?
I am pretty fucking blind.
No, I'd ruin it otherwise. This is
I'm pretty far away from it.
I can't really zoom in further.
It's all good. It's all good. I can see it.
You would cut off some stuff if I zoom
No, it's fine. Caceres, Kevin Kroom by knockout or submission 4.0. I love all this. I love it.
Kroom decision 7.5.
7.5.
Ooh.
Could totally see it. Could totally see it.
I like that.
Could totally see it.
Draw. Crazy.
No. I'm glad we have
maybe the fight to go the distance, maybe if you're not sure on who to bet on. But no, yeah, I think we're all kind of liking the dog odds on Kroom and
dog odds on Kroom too.
2.8. I think that's what I said. So I opened it up. I think that's a whack line. I don't think Caceres should be
2.8.
Like Caceres has been obviously what you would call a gatekeeper for the last stretch of time. Obviously, he's been around the UFC for like a decade now. Obviously, since the Ultimate Fighter. So like, give that guy his respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know. We tend to see him like obviously his last fight, Austin Springer, is maybe a bit above the level we used to see him, and we've obviously seen him look pretty good his last couple of fights. But no, I just think Kroom will bring that grit and maybe finish him like Dougie's saying, or maybe you'll maybe hurt him and squeak out a close decision or a solid decision. But yeah, I think we're all gonna ride that points too if we get some of stuff on Betway, or maybe we shall convert.
We're all on it. We're all on board with the hard hitting hillbilly. That's all. That's all to be said, I think.
Well, yeah.
Yep. 100%.
I mean, and it's a great way, like I said, to kick off the main card. I think.
Sorry, Pat. And one thing I'm gonna add right before, it is a great way to end there.
Yeah.
Before I forget, kind of breaking news. I'm seeing on Twitter. Guess who Tony Ferguson is training with? A legend of a coach, a boxing coach.
Who?
Freddie Roach.
Oh, really? Let's see what Mark says
what?
about that.
That's
Mark will have something to say about that in 5 seconds. I'm just wait. He's typing.
Like, what is? I don't know. I don't mind it for Tony, but it's just like another. I thought like, what is this last kid? Be like, I'm my own camp kind of.
Yeah, he was like, I'm my own camp. I'm my own camp. I'm running.
Well,
I
guess
own
you could
camp.
you could bring him in, but like
that's kind of what he's doing. I bet he's. Why do you think he's getting a guy like
Tony's
Freddie
just
Roach
all
in
over
there?
the place. Okay, let's move on to the next.
He is
fight.
all over the place. Wow. That's crazy, man.
I just want to bring that up before.
Someone keep checking the news thing. I like the little breaking news.
Beep, 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 beep. We need a little like a
pointless appointment. What does that even mean?
appointment or announcement? What do you?
Pointless. He probably meant announcement.
Whatever. Okay, on to the next one.
Oh, Dan, great. This is one we're gonna spend a minute on here for sure. I think we're strawweight women's bout at 115 pounds. Short notice bout, but not for... See, originally I thought it was a short notice bout for Angela Hill, but it's actually a short notice bout for Yoder, correct?
Oh my God, this line.
Or is it a short notice bout for both? Does anyone have the exact details on it? I know it's short notice. I thought it was for Yoder. I saw an article saying it was Yoder was the one that got the call short notice.
I have no idea.
But I think they might have just made this fight on short notice regardless. That's what I think. I think they needed a fight for the card, and they had two people sitting around that train around the PI that are like, yeah, we're ready to fight. And they had the people there at the PI that were like, yeah, they're ready to fight. And they're like, okay, like, you guys want to fight? And they're like, yeah. So there you go. I think that's pretty much what happened. We saw Angela Hill a lot on Twitter pretty much asking for a fight. She's 5'3" with a 64.5-inch reach. Ashley Yoder 5'7" with a 69.5-inch reach. Angela Hill 6-7 in the UFC with a 12-9 MMA record. Ashley Yoder 3-5 in the UFC with an 8-6 MMA record. Angela Hill 5 knockouts, no subs. Ashley Yoder no knockouts, 4 subs. Angela Hill's coming off the split decision loss. Actually, I'll leave Angela Hill. We'll start with Ashley Yoder. She's coming off the UD win to Miranda Granger, in which she looked to kind of work from the clinch, get the TD, almost getting the sweep. She was looking to get some takedowns throughout the fight, but getting reversed, landed on somewhat too as she was getting reversed in these different positions. But she was throwing up some arm bars and some different submissions but they were just defended well. Like when you have the heavy enough top pressure, that jiu-jitsu kind of goes out the window for some of these people, unless you can really catch them in a submission. She pretty much ends up going for a lot of these different hip tosses, winding someone on top this time, resulting in her ending the round on top. She ended up landing a lot of good strikes in that round, obviously getting some good points in that round. It was definitely a close first round. But as far as Yoder she ended up getting pretty much the early takedown to start the third as well. Taking the back, getting the body triangle, not able to finish, but ended up putting on consistent pressure on the ground throughout the end of the fight. I mean, definitely a close fight. I mean, you see a girl like Yoder, 3-5 in the UFC, 8-5, 8-6 in her MMA career, no knockouts, 4 subs. She got decent ground game, but like, this might be a fight here, like, and there's already a telling sign, and I'm gonna get to it already. We'll talk, and I'm gonna let Dan definitely interject on a lot of these fights because he'll probably sees these a little bit differently than me. And I didn't even really want to write a breakdown for the Michelle Waterson fight or much Angela Hill stuff because Dan is,
these are seared into my mind.
That's what I mean.
Robbers.
Well, I didn't even reference the Gedalia fight. You can do your thing on the Gedalia fight if you want to go through it. Okay. But as far as the Michelle Waterson fight, that was a split decision loss. I thought that was a decently close fight. I thought that was a more of a robbery, you could call it, than the Gedalia fight, which she previously also received a split decision loss. Angela Hill did. But at the same time, man,
pulling up numbers.
At the same time here, it's Angela Hill. What she brings into a lot of these fights is this crisp kickboxing, this good striking. She's now kind of developed this very nice Muay Thai clinch from her, or not now developed. She's now able to kind of work well. She's always had the Muay Thai game. That's kind of where she first originated from. But she's kind of now able to work it in with a lot of these different opponents that like to even go for takedowns, like to kind of get you in the clinch and then kind of take you down. She's kind of given herself an area to kind of bridge the gap, as in not letting herself get taken down or dominated too much in the clinch and resulting up on the ground, but just enough where she's able to kind of stay on her feet, win exchanges, because that's what she does, and lead a lot of these exchanges. But at the same time, like we saw wavering points in the fight where Michelle Waterson's able to land some of these strikes that, permit her to, lose the fight. You know what I mean? Like in Michelle Waterson to get that win. Like for sure there was. For sure. Some of those high kicks and shit. Come on. We watched the fight together. I mean, it's definitely a close fight. I think that fight more of a robbery than the Gedalia fight.
Okay, so before we go, so let's just go. First.
Bring it up. You can show me the numbers. You can bring up the numbers.
We're not gonna, let's do just a mental exercise.
Yes.
Let's just go. So fighter, we'll go, Dougie, you gotta split in this two. We'll go fighter A and fighter B. So, yeah. So round 1, fighter A, 26 of 56 significant strikes. Fighter B, 21 of 57 significant strikes, 0 of 4 takedown attempts. Round 2, fighter, because this was the main event. This was the 5-round main event. This was his own fight, man. It's crazy, this fight.
I forgot it was 5 rounds too. I fucking forgot.
Yeah, round 2, fighter A, 33 of 62 significant strikes. Fighter B, 31 of 78 significant strikes, 0 of 5 on the takedowns. Round 3, fighter A, 11 of 22 significant strikes. Fighter B, 13 of 34, 1 for 1 on the takedown, which then resulted in 3.5 minutes of control time. So that was I remember that was probably a great round. Round 4, fighter A, 22 of 46 significant strikes. Fighter B, 26 of 58, 0 for 5 on takedowns.
Yeah, I hear what you're trying to. Yeah,
round
okay,
5,
great. Yeah,
A,
okay.
39-75. Fighter B, 37 of 97, 0 for 3 on takedowns. Obviously, the judges aren't seeing the stats.
Yeah,
but that's a close fight that Angela Hill should have won. She should.
Yeah, I think she should have won that fight too. 100%. I think Angela Hill should have taken that fight. But
no. Well, I can't wait to get to the stats on the next one because we're going.
No,
back,
you're gonna read the stats for the Gedalia fight. You go.
Well, it's only 3 rounds. It'll be quicker. Don't worry about it.
But I don't even want to focus on that fight. I kind of wanted to skate through it in the best way possible by just cutting all the way back to 2017 and looking at the Ashley Yoder fight where they already fought each other.
Oh yeah,
I kind of went for the easy way out on that one and said, "Oh, they've already fought. I remember this Ultimate Fighter season finale."
Well, yeah. Well, I was also. I thought you were just gonna let me kind of do my piece on.
That's what I mean. Do your piece. Do your piece. Do your piece. Do your piece.
But like,
go.
No. Because there's not really too much time. We don't need to bet. We don't need to spend too much time on this fight. But,
talk about Gedalia if you want to. Talk about the Gedalia fight.
Well, I'll just pull these. No, I don't need to do the fighter A, fighter B bullshit on this other one. I'll just pull these up.
Yeah, pull the stats up for us. And then you can talk about it for like as long as you want. I don't even give a shit. I'm not doing it. As far as the Ashley Yoder fight, let me just do this real quick. They've already fought before, like I was saying, 2017 Ultimate Fighter finale. It was a UD win for Angela Hill. Pretty much she was able to, like I said, dictate the fight. Yoder was able to get some opening takedowns, and this is kind of when, they had kind of previously been training together on the Ultimate Fighter season and yada, yada, yada. And she was, trying to get the body lock. But Angela Hill just too explosive, too athletic. I think a little bit too strong for a girl like Ashley Yoder. She's just able to get out of a lot of these positions. And now I think with her even more developed wrestling, her even more developed tie clinch that she's got now, I see Angela Hill having far more success in this fight. I think that even in that fight, we see Angela Hill already landing, good leg kicks, showing that she's got the far greater kickboxing, the far greater stand-up, able to land it pretty much at will when she wants on Yoder. Yoder even visibly looking like when she gets hit, she is scared to get hit, and she is looking more hesitant to throw shots as this fight goes on. I mean, Yoder's opening some of these rounds with good time takedowns, and that's kind of where she gets her avenue to success is in this fight is definitely getting the takedown and definitely working on the ground. I think that's where she's probably going to be able to try and win this fight. But it's like, unless you're able to, I don't even know, partially disable a girl like Angela Hill and take a leg out or do something and then get her on the ground or even have her partially hurt, then sink a choke in. I just don't see it happening at this point in her career. I just see her being too developed and too experienced. I don't see Yoder having the offensive takedown ability. I think that this fight's going to be an exciting fight on the card. I think that, both opponents probably haven't fought each other before, and I think Angela Hill always brings a little bit of an exciting twist to it, of course. But like I said, they've already fought each other. Ultimate Fighter Season 25 finale, I think, making that, it makes it a little bit spicier behind it. I think Hill having pretty much, like I said, dominating that first fight due to her more refined stand-up, her ability to stay out of vulnerable positions on the ground with Yoder. I think we know this, the one avenue for Yoder probably to keep this fight on the ground, probably beat her up there, or try and win that fight on the ground and get a submission at some point. I just see, obviously, like I said, Angela Hill dominated the most of this fight, using striking as her main tool, using the tie clinch as her main tool. I don't see Yoder having the power to deal with a girl like Angela Overkill Hill, but that's what I'm going to say my piece on. I'm going to let Dan talk about the Gedalia fight. He's got some numbers he wants to bring up.
I mean, I'll just let the numbers speak for themselves. Like, obviously, first round, clear, Gedalia.
Say them off. No one can see those.
Okay, 21, Gedalia, round 1, 21 of 47 significant strikes. Hill, 10 of 26. Gedalia had that one for 2 takedowns with 2 minutes and 33 seconds of control time. Round 2, Gedalia, 29 of 71 significant strikes. Hill, 37 of 72. Gedalia 0 for 2 on the takedowns. Hill had 27 seconds advantage in control time, and that was kind of like the key round. Even though it's probably almost just as close, I guess, in the next round with Gedalia getting 34 of 92. Very low clip, though, and Hill at 43 of 78. Like, I just remember, like, obviously, yeah, there's that first round. I was better of Hill in that fight. Ever since, I think we saw her kind of turn a corner. I think it was kind of in that Loma Luke Boonme fight where I think she was a pretty sizable underdog, and she's only been an underdog in the last like 3 fights. But no, I've been a better of her as of late, and I thought that was an absolute horseshit decision. But we don't need to spend any more time on that. I think obviously the line here is kind of whack. Like, it's as whack as it like it's a complete opposite of the usual overkill fight when she's over or either underdog.
Yeah, pull the lineup. Actually, Dougie, what do you have to pick? Because we all know where Dan's going. Dan's picking Gedalia. Dan's picking.
I'm not touching it. I'm not touching the fight.
I just want to see who you picking, Dan. Doug.
I'm picking Hill,
yeah,
but I'm not touching it because of the line. But I've got Hill for the simple reason that she won the last fight, and I've seen Hill make more improvements than Yoder. I think Yoder still has the grappling advantage. But I think Hill can keep this one on the feet for at least 2 of the 3 rounds and win both of those rounds.
Well, yeah, just think about those. When I was obviously going through my whole spiel, those numbers against, I think better grapplers than Yoder, though, like 0 for 5 in some rounds, 0 for 3. Like, people try and take Hill down because they're getting pieced up on the feet, especially as of late. And, that's not an easy task.
No. I don't think. It's gonna be definitely hard. What's the stoppage numbers for Hill, since she's such a heavy underdog, heavy favorite by KO? What is it, 5.5? Oh, I might take those. Yep.
You think she stops her?
I think she might even roll into one of these positions. I think Yoder goes for one of these hip tosses. Hill fights for position, kind of like we've seen Yoder do with a million different girls. Hill winds up on top, and if Hill lands in a good enough spot and she puts enough hard strikes at her, I think she gets her out of there. I think she's able to finish her. Like, I just want to see it. I want to see both of these.
It's not worth a little, especially it's just like when it's absolutely not worth to go on that straight up line, maybe worth a little dip. But
what's her on point? Sorry,
I think 9 times out of 10 this fight's going 15 minutes, and it's
probably
Angel Hill 30-27, but might be worth the play. You might see me get a little bit crazy on Saturday, but I think we can move on.
We shall see.
Hey people. Next fight up here, we got the fight that has been fucking booked and rebooked and pushed and booked and rebooked. Bantamweight bout at 135 pounds between Pedro Munhoz, 5'6", with a 65-inch reach, taking on Jimmie Rivera, 5'4", with a 68.5-inch reach. Pedro Munhoz, 8-5-1 in the UFC with an 18-5 record. 5 knockouts, 8 subs. Jimmie Rivera, 7-3 in the UFC with a 23-14 record, 4 knockouts, 2 subs. Obviously, kind of both these guys have pretty decent, extensive backgrounds here in the UFC now, and I think it's another one of these fights, back-to-back fights, and it's kind of funny. Both guys have already fought each other as well, so it's another one of these little fun ones. Of course, this one being way back in 2015, but we'll get to that. Pedro Munhoz coming off the split decision loss to Frankie Edgar. We saw that fight pretty much as a kickboxing fight. We saw, good counters by both people. We saw, Munhoz landing those counters, circling away well. Both guys eating shots and landing well. I was able to catch him coming in a couple times, cutting him. I mean, basically a kickboxing match in which, not many guys threw takedowns throughout, but Edgar ended up doing a lot of good work on the hands and feet. Ended up eating a ton of leg kicks from Munhoz throughout the entire fight. Munhoz ripping that leg, just trying to slow the movement of Edgar down, which was smart. But as far as on the other side, if we look at Jimmie Rivera, he's coming off a UD win over Cody Stamann, in which Rivera looked to be pretty much the aggressor throughout the fight, shooting some takedowns, a couple good reversals by Stamann at some points. Stamann was keeping the body lock, trying to work from different positions, but he ended up breaking out and reversing it pretty much. Rivera did. A lot throughout the fight, we saw Stamann kind of overreaching with punches, and Jimmie Rivera looking to counter on a lot of those shots, and it looked pretty good for him, and it was working well. He was getting pressured against the fence a little bit, and looking to getting held there by the stronger man, Cody Stamann. And I mean, it just kind of happened. I mean, Stamann, as far as the fight kept on going, he kind of ends up slowing in a lot of his fights. But I mean, basically at one point in that fight, we saw Stamann pretty much looking like he doesn't want to throw, or he's kind of a little bit confused. Jimmie Rivera was giving him some problems on the hands and feet. And you could see the leg that was just getting torn up throughout that fight kind of getting somewhat compromised. But you could see the cardio start to slip, and Jimmie Rivera kind of, pick up and win that third round. You know what I mean? That's what won him the fight. You know what I mean? Able to throw more in that third and take over. So, I mean, then you go back and you look at both these guys, like I said, Jimmie Rivera, Pedro Munhoz, they've already fought once before. Pedro Munhoz receiving the split decision loss, Jimmie Rivera winning. This was in 2015. Rivera was looking pretty much to land early throughout the fight, try and mix in some combos. Both guys throwing good leg kicks. Rivera was pretty much combining a lot of shots together. I mean, speed and timing out of the pocket of these shots, it was beautiful. I mean, you could just see Rivera pretty much dominating most of the exchanges due to his speed and his accuracy with the hands. I mean, Munhoz was pretty much not looking to throw so many shots in the first, and he was very much outstruck. He was just getting hit with very good combos. His body was getting worked throughout, and even into the second round. I mean, he was defending these late takedown attempts by Rivera, and even just kind of reversing out of them, and it was great. He was able to just crack him back. I mean, it was a great fight. Like, if you haven't watched the original fight, like, this is now the second fight. Man, people, go back and watch that original Jimmie Rivera and Pedro Munhoz fight, because that's a great fight, and that's like I said, from 2015. So it's definitely has some yearage behind it already. He pretty much ended up partially dropping and rocking Munhoz, lighting him up, and then getting partially rocked in the process. Like, he lights him up on the hands and feet. He's almost about to go down. Rivera goes in for the kill, swinging wildly, gets lit up. Then he's wobbled on the hands and feet. Munhoz's eyes basically closed. He's walking down Rivera throughout the fight. He's shooting in for takedowns. It's a fucking great fight, man. It's so, I rewatching it, I was like, this is one of these fights that you catch and then you kind of might even forget about, or you might even remember for the rest of your life, because it's just a great little fight, a great little scrap. One of those fights that probably ended up winning fight of the night back in the day, or getting a bonus. I mean, a lot of takedowns ended up coming from Munhoz later on in that fight. Rivera was ended up his hooks and shots up the middle were landing very well on Munhoz throughout the fight. Pretty much towards the end of that second round, Rivera ends up slowing down, but that's pretty much after he's been clipped from that big shot. It was very hard for him to recover. You could definitely see it. Munhoz ended up kind of starting to walk down Rivera throughout that third, and Rivera pretty much just ended up playing counter striker and got on his bike and landing some good shots, but he ended up looking a little bit more tired. Munhoz kind of ended up definitely being the aggressor in the third. Like I said, still losing that fight, split decision loss. Jimmie Rivera wins. I mean, this is definitely in consideration for fight of the night for me. Just when you go back, like I said, if you've seen them, remember the fight the first time, how sensational it was. It's a split decision going Rivera's way, but very close fight all the way through. I think it's going to be a tough one to call. I think both guys have fought each other. Obviously I see the same type of result in the fight as we saw in the previous fight, like I've kind of been saying. But I think Rivera dictates more pace early. I think he maybe ends up slowing down a little bit this time. He kind of realizes that, he's not really going in there and looking to drop him with as many of these flurries and not get as kind of complacent when he's throwing some of these combos. I think if Munhoz lets Rivera start getting off as many shots as he did in the first round, I think it definitely is. It could be a throwback right back to the other fight where he kind of waits for him to get tired and then kind of starts pushing the pace then. I think Rivera's probably going to have a similar game plan. I think working the head and body with all of his good combos. I don't see him gassing out here that much, maybe possibly late, but I think that, like I said, that slippage of cardio that we saw in their last fight and what we've seen in previous fights from a guy like Rivera, I think it's smart enough to, I think he'll be smart enough, like I said, to realize Munhoz isn't the guy you can just drop and finish. I think it's a very hard and close fight to call. I think I see Rivera probably getting the win in this fight. I'm going to pick Rivera via decision.
I'm going to go against you and go with Munhoz on this one. I always like the volume guys in these ones. And I said it last week on the breakdown. I went with Jared Gordon because I said he was the volume guy and I backed out of it. Not backing out of this one. I'm going Munhoz all day with the volume striking over the power and precision. I think because it goes the distance, I think the volume looks good to the judges, and I think he gets the nod in this one after 3.
Might be the case. This is a hard one to pick, man.
That's
you
so
even look at it on top.
Close
No, look at it
fight.
on.
Close fight.
Yeah, it's 50-50 on Topology too, so that means people don't know where it's going either.
Yeah, I think that I'm kind of I think I may be back and forth up until Saturday night, but I'm kind of more so on Munhoz as of right now. I was kind of, especially when we were doing the breakdown for when it was previously booked.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had taken I took Rivera there actually, but the more I've just been able to think about it, I think we've just seen as of late, like obviously we've seen some bad losses, not terrible losses, but there was obviously a close fight against Frankie Edgar. But like we've just seen Pedro Munhoz look really good recently, like other than those last 2 losses. And I just overthink. Over 3 rounds is just gonna be so. It's gonna. I do not envy the judges on that one. I think it's gonna be fight of the night, and probably be a split decision again. Being honest with ourselves, but yeah, fuck it. Let's go with the underdog to be on the right side of it this time.
How is Munhoz the underdog this time?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, is that actually the odds are sitting? I haven't even looked at them yet. Just pull the odds up, Dan. I want to see them.
Yeah. Sorry.
If you don't mind.
Right now.
This is one I could definitely see myself swapping on.
Or like probably hedging because this could go either way.
Well, yeah, I'll probably hedge the fuck out of this one. I have no. This is. I don't even know about this fight, man. But both guys having fought before.
All we know is it's gonna be banger. Like it's pretty much guaranteed to be a great fight.
Okay.
Interesting. They seems to be pretty confident. The odds makers are thinking that this fight's pretty much guaranteed to go the distance, which, to be honest, probably is. But
it's hard to disagree with that.
I don't know. Rivera stoppage at 7.5, though. It's kind of nuts. Like Rivera did look very good in that statement fight. I just remember, I remember that fight very vividly. How considerably how his speed in that fight, his power in combination with it. It's problems. It's over 15 minutes. It's a problem. But yeah, we're probably gonna see a close decision.
Definitely. Well, we got another.
Yeah.
We're just seeing fights out the yin yang. We're flying through these. Okay, here.
People no, but bro, riddle me this. Like, why is this fight the highest up on the card of the 3? What is that?
We ask this question every week. Let's just break it down and get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck it.
They're fucking with us.
There was supposed to be another women's fight too. There was
like Montana, obviously. Like I don't know.
They already rescheduled the Jillian Robertson fight. That's on 260. Another heavy card appearance for Jillian.
Okay, whatever.
We got a flyweight women's bout at 125 pounds. Montana De La Rosa coming in at 5'7" with a 68-inch reach, taking on Mayra Bueno Silva, 5'6" with a 66.5-inch reach. Montana De La Rosa 4-2 in the UFC with 11-6 MMA record, no knockouts, 8 subs. Bueno Silva 2-1 in the UFC with a 7-1 MMA record, 1 knockout, 5 subs. De La Rosa's coming off a UD loss to Montano De La Rosa. To Viviane Arroyo, in which pretty much in that fight we saw, her keeping her head on the center line, moving a little bit, but getting pieced up throughout the fight on the hands and feet. She had some good leg kicks landing on her a little bit, looking for some good takedowns at times, but not really winning the scrambles very well. She was a little bit more stationary as the fight went on, a little bit more flat-footed, kind of like we've already talked about Arroyo. We know tonight she likes to move. She likes to strike and move. She was just getting landed on. I mean, and when you're stationary on a girl like Arroyo and you're not pressing very well, then you're going to get landed on even more. She was just taking those leg kicks, and we saw there was tons of damage there. That was a fight in which Viviane Arroyo was looking out to prove a point, and she came out hard through 3 rounds and able to just put it on her. De La Rosa had the spurts of looking good, but she pretty much got battered in that fight. I mean, there was nothing that she could do to stop the pace from Viviane Arroyo that was getting, put on her. But I mean, she was just getting cut off, and it just didn't go her way that night. As far as Bueno Silva, she's coming off of a submission win over Mariboro Romelo, in which Borello was able to time some strikes, get the takedown. She was pretty much looking for the armbar to get it off of her back, looking to throw up the armbar off of her back. And then she was pretty much finally able to get that armbar out of that weird position. Borello was kind of just sitting in kind of like a position in which, she was just going to get submissions thrown at her from all different angles. And that's pretty much what she was doing. She was just transitioning through different submissions. And that's pretty much what we ended up seeing. I think that in this fight, it's definitely kind of, some of these women's fights, man, a little bit harder to call, especially when you see a girl like, Montana De La Rosa get pretty much shattered on the hands and feet in her last fight. And then you're like, oh, maybe she'll come in and look a little bit better. And then it's like, we got Bueno Silva on the other side, and she's looked pretty good throughout all of her fights. I mean, it's one of these harder fights to call. I mean, I don't know, man. We've seen her submit some of these women that are a little bit of a higher level, like I was already mentioning, Jillian Robertson and stuff like that. I mean, it's definitely going to be a hard fight. I don't know. I don't really know where I'm putting my money on in this one, and I don't know if I will be putting any money on this one, that's for sure.
So you know what's crazy about this fight?
Yeah.
It's the second women's fight in which the sole loss that the favorite has is to Mariana Moroz.
Sorry, say that again?
Mariana Moroz is the sole loss of both Bueno Silva and of... Who's the other one?
Who, De La Rosa?
No, it was against Alexis Davis. What's her name again? Sabina Mazzo.
Oh, okay.
Colombian queen. I don't know. It's just interesting.
And then they've all lost to Angela Hill. Bah! And then she's lost to Angela Hill. Bah!
That's crazy. Angela Hill's fun. Everybody in that flyweight division, but no, I think Bueno Silva should probably be able to get this one done. I won't be betting on De La Rosa. I think there's too many ways she can lose.
I want to see the lines first.
I'd agree with that.
I'll take it up since LJ's not here, but I think we could see like an early armbar first, second round. I'll probably be slapping money first round for Bueno Silva.
I was gonna say Silva by stoppage. I think she's better on the hands and the mat.
Yeah, De La Rosa does have grappling pedigree, but I don't know. Women just tend to get caught in these surprise armbars. Maybe you should be safer.
You still got the breakdown in front of the odds, eh? The topology.
Yeah, I got it. Sorry. I'm just swapping that up. Okay.
I'd be curious to see what the submission alone is. It's probably not that much better than the stoppage, but 6.5 on round one's not bad.
I wouldn't be. We could see anything in this fight. I think we could see anything in this fight.
Yeah, we could definitely see De La Rosa win a decision.
You can see her I
definitely wouldn't go too deep either way, but that's why I'll probably just throw like a small little prop on round one or something. Not trying.
I'll probably avoid the shit out of that fight, to be honest.
Look, Sherm's asking for the mod over in Twitch.
Swing the mod, yo! I'll swing the mod when we're done. We're 2 fights off being done, and then I'll swing you the mod. Just stay on for the co-main.
When you're actually reporting for duty on fight night, clearing out trolls. But
stay on for the co-main, and I'll swing you on.
All right, on to the next one.
On to the co-main.
Co-main.
Ooh, wow, baby.
Flying through this one.
Yeah, and this is a fight I kind of already. I honestly was thinking about extensively just tagging the breakdowns in the Combat Canon and then kind of saying you got to go watch the Combat Canon episode to go get my co-main and main event breakdown because they're both on there, even more extensive probably than I'll go right now. I'll probably
just give us the short and sweet.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them short and sweet. Light heavyweight bet at 205 pounds. We've got Nikita Krylov, 6'3" with a 77.5-inch reach, taking Magomed Ankalaev, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Krylov 8-5 in the UFC with a 27-7 record. Ankalaev 5-1 in the UFC with a 14-1 MMA record. Krylov 11 knockouts, 15 subs. Ankalaev 9 knockouts, no subs. Krylov's coming off a UD win over Johnny Walker, in which he was pretty much able to out-wrestle him. Use a lot of these different positions, use his wrestling game, use even having success a little bit on the hands and feet, and using Johnny Walker's wild style and ability to not deal with some of these different clinch positions as well against him. Of course, he was reversed, I think, at one point in that fight, and Johnny Walker did have a little bit of success, but we saw Johnny Walker visibly was wearing on him the grappling, and him not being used to it, him not being as successful in some of these grappling exchanges was definitely wearing on him. As far as the Glover Teixeira fight, that was a split decision loss for Nikita Krylov as well. Up until that point, Nikita Krylov, is, like I said last night, has only seen the third round one time until that point in 32 pro fights. I mean, he was getting taken down early with a high crotch, but able to shake off Glover in some of these good grappling exchanges. He was able to pretty much land in full mount, have some beautiful wrestling exchanges between the two. He was almost sinking in the head and arm choke against Teixeira, which would have been crazy. I mean, Teixeira was pretty much able to land some left hooks on a guy like Krylov. stumbling him and rocking him across the octagon. I think Teixeira had more success on his hands and feet walking down a guy like Krylov in this fight, and in that fight, in pretty much putting the hands and feet on him, rather than even using his far more sophisticated and what we know a guy like Glover Teixeira for, his ground game. You know what I mean? But even we saw Krylov even get some takedowns at the end of the round, land some good elbows. I mean, he was even able to get a good takedown with about a minute 30 left in the fight. He was working. You'd think at that point that might have won him the fight. He was trying to get some good shots going, but got reversed right before with about 15 seconds left and got fully mounted by Teixeira. So Teixeira in the judges' eyes ended up on top, but Teixeira ended up winning that fight. Like I said, it's split decision. Nikita Krylov ended up losing. As far as Magomed Ankalaev, he's coming off a KO win over Ion Cutelaba, in which, this fight's now been the rematch. Before, we talked about this before. If you guys don't know, they already had one fight before previously. Rocked him with about 2 good head kicks to start off the fight. Magomed Ankalaev rocked Cutelaba with about 2 good head kicks to start off the fight. Cutelaba was trying to play into this, kind of being staggered, rocking his head around. The judge actually thought he was hurt. He was then clipped with some punches, and the judge ended up stepping in. Cutelaba obviously protesting the fight right away. They then set to have a rematch in which Magomed Ankalaev took a little bit longer, about 4 minutes this time, but ended up knocking him out for real, like starched out. He pretty much started with some leg kicks, able to land some good front kicks, paired with a right hook. Pretty much as Cutelaba was like trying to look to push pace, looking to walk him down in that fight. He was pretty much still throwing that lead leg kick, taking that good overhand. He was able to drop him with a minute left with the straight left. He was still being walked down, caught with 2 hooks as he came in, and then even put on a beautiful ground and pound that turned out the lights of Cutelaba. I mean, it was pretty much like Ankalaev. If you didn't even see my intro today or see the Combat Canon and you want a little bit longer breakdown, go check that out. Because as far as the Paul Craig fight, I'm just going to break down that even quicker. He was beating Paul Craig in pretty much every single different department until the last 15 seconds of the fight, in which Paul Craig threw up a beautiful armbar and caught Magomed Ankalaev, giving him his first loss in his pro career and in the UFC. And I mean, that's what happens. Paul Craig is dangerous on the ground.
Tapping with the buzzer.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I had money on Ankalaev. That I was losing my mind.
Yeah. What an absolute awesome co-main event. I think these 2 guys, Magomed Ankalaev, Nikita Krylov, going at it's going to be a scrap. I think we're going to see some spectacular grappling transition throughout the fight. I think definitely on paper, Magomed, one of those guys, truly was, only lost him to Paul Craig in his pro career, which he was winning, like I said, pretty much 99% of that fight. I think you see the mixture of striking and power, kicking combined with the wrestling. I think that's a problem for a lot of these different guys. But obviously, with a guy like Craig, you're always able, or even anybody in the UFC, you're always eligible to get caught in a submission with a different punch, anything like that. I think, Krylov has the ability to definitely defend some of these different grappling exchanges and possibly throw up some forms of submission if he can pull guard in the same spot. I think I see this fight probably being the one that's decided by who's fresher, who can stay lighter on their hands and feet. But I think Ankalaev is probably going to be one of those guys that's going to execute a definite, strong game plan and dominate this bout. I see Magomed Ankalaev winning this bout. Probably by... I don't know. Probably by decision. It's a good question, though. It's definitely a good question. Decision. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, well, I think this can be a banger. This can be a great co-main event.
I wonder if he gets his first submission.
I do think we'll get to the lines, but I do think it's a bit of a disrespect to Krylov and the kind of the level of competition he's faced to date. Obviously, yeah, Ankalaev's an absolute beast, but no doubt his toughest competition up until this point. And yeah, we could see some resistance. Krylov showing him some things he hasn't seen yet in his pro career, and maybe it could be to go 15 minutes if Krylov is able to implement his game plan. But if Ankalaev's winning, I feel like he's gonna find a way to finish him. I think just recently we've just seen that absolute ferocity and power from Ankalaev. So I think he's gonna come out. I think he's got some, even though he's got the 2 back-to-back knockouts against the same guy and crazy Cutelaba. So let's just count that as 1. I think we count that as 1 win. And I think it's gonna be a closer fight than the line would say. I think we're gonna see. I think I'll definitely be dipping into that big underdog line on Krylov, but because especially that thing I'd be he won 99% of that fight, but like you should have that octagon awareness that ability to know, just go to sleep. Like tapping is the absolute last thing you're gonna do. And when it's a chokehold and it's not even a joint, like, come on, man, what the fuck are you like obviously you saw it afterwards, get kind of bitched out by his coach or whatever. But like, I don't know, like that being his only flaw, it's hard to really absolutely kill the guy about it. But like, hey, that's a chink in the armor. The guy's beatable, and I think we can see Krylov get it done. I'm going with the big dog.
I'm going with Ankalaev in this one. I'm one of the people who sees him as a future potential champion in this division. I'm super high on him. I think he gets it done by finish. I don't agree with the line being as wide as it is. Maybe that's just because I'd like it to be a bit thinner. But I definitely see Ankalaev winning this one. I
feel like we always see Ankalaev as like a 1.35. Like,
can you zoom in a little bit, Dan, please?
Yeah. It's always... We're not really.
Well, a lot of people are very, very high
like
on
that.
him.
Give me like that. Give me that.
I can't really see the side.
Nice.
I'm just being like at almost 4 to 1. I'm like, I don't think it's
crazy.
I just don't think. I think that's crazy. I think, like, obviously he's lost to some great guys, Krylov, but
so you'd think that what do you see the result of this fight happening? Because like if you're picking Krylov, you see a decision, right?
It's gonna be a crazy fight. I don't know.
You're gonna see a decision though, right?
Most likely. I don't see how he could finish on Krylov. Crazier things have happened. I'm definitely
no. I'm not saying you're crazy.
I'm
I'm just asking your reason why. I'm just asking your reason why. In case people are wondering. Like
it's more so the value. I'm not saying there's just
there's definitely value. I'm gonna
if this fight happened 10 times, Ankalaev probably wins 7 of them, maybe even 8 of them. That's pretty much what the line's telling you.
Doug, this guy's kind of a hater. But this guy's not.
Krylov's
hater.
wrestling.
What do you mean? Why just I'm 7 or 8 of the time
I'd say
they fight?
I would say, if they fought 10 times, I think
he'd win
9. I think he'd win 9 out of 10. I think the
I think
odds
he wins a bit more.
even a bit more than 9.
How you would? So 10
I'm saying 9 is probably right. I'm saying a bit more than 7 or 8. I think.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
I just think it's MMA.
It's saying you only went 70%
It is
of the
MMA.
time.
It is MMA. And you can fucking get in there and slip a sweet choke on him like Paul Craig did, and slip him and sleep him.
Krylov's wrestling is what concerns me in this. I think Krylov by decision could be an interesting bet because I could just see him being a level above Ankalaev in the wrestling and using that to win a decision.
Yeah, I'm down to do that too. What's Krylov by decision? 8 to 1. I'll throw that in something. It's a close fight, man. It's a close ass fight. Like, I mean, Ankalaev could definitely be one of these guys. Like, you know what I mean? Getting a little. I know, like, you can read off the shit. Like, you go Ankalaev, right? And you go, there's a bounty of records I didn't even read. Like I said it yesterday, international master of MMA, like 3-time Russian amateur MMA champion. You know, Greco-Roman champion of Dagestan, master of combat sambo. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know. It all adds up, but you can still, anything can happen on the night of the fight. Anything can happen in a fight, especially in the UFC. So, I mean, that's
true.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Did they not even have these lines on Betway yet? I mean, yeah. For these co-main and main?
Have we not already got them?
Let me take a look.
We're already on Bet365.
Yeah, I know. I'm not telling you to switch. Stay on this. I'm just wondering.
I'm having a look.
I'm going to also do one quick thing. I'm going to update the news clip from thing. Just to see if anything's been pulled in the last hour.
What?
I'm just trying to see. I'm looking up.
Nothing but the straight bets on Betway.
In the last hour. What's going on at 11 o'clock at night?
Anything. Tons of shit, man.
No.
Tons of shit, man. Headlines.
Is there any other lines you want to look at this one, or are you done with this?
I'm pretty good on this one.
I'm probably good on this one too. I think we'll probably move on.
I think Ankalaev decision's not bad though.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Could maybe just have. I'll probably just go. I think it's pretty much the same value on. That is Krylov straight up, so I might put it that way. But,
more of the heavyweights. Let's go.
Yes, the heavyweights. We got a heavyweight bout up here at 265 pounds. This is our main event of the evening. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, 6'4" with a 78-inch reach, taking on Cyril Gane, 6'4" with an 83-inch reach. Both men physically gifted as it gets. Other than, of course, when Gane, that guy's on his own platform. But Jairzinho Rozenstruik 5-1 in the UFC with an 11-1 record, 10 knockouts, no subs. Cyril Gane 4-0 in the UFC with a 7-0 record in MMA, 3 knockouts, 3 subs. As far as the Jairzinho Rozenstruik career, he's coming off a KO win over JDS, in which he was starting solid with some slow leg kicks, looking to try and counter shots with kicks. Jairzinho, kind of what we see in a lot of these fights, as far as their Overeem fight and the JDS fight, somewhat similar. Kind of looking to try and find his opening, trying to find that go spot for him, the spot where he can find that counter, especially with JDS trying to close distance and JDS landing some good overhands, but ended up getting countered by Rozenstruik. He was pretty much ended up walking him down, finally landing the left hook right on that perfect spot on JDS, just right in that third round, dropping him, and then JDS getting up, and he ended up dropping him again, finishing the fight. I mean, as far as the Ngannou fight, we saw that. Obviously, that's highlight reel. That's Ngannou pretty much opening the fight. Jairzinho going for about 2 quick leg kicks and just getting mauled in the process, getting absolutely ravaged by hooks and knocked out, sleeping against the side of the fence. You only have to hope you only wish he was okay. We're glad he's okay after you see something like that, but it's definitely highlight reel. As far as the Alistair Overeem fight, pretty much same kind of thing, opening up slowly with some leg kicks. Overeem being very patient, looking to get, a couple takedowns. Overeem actually having more success. Like I said, pretty much winning, and I've said it before when we broke this fight down for the Overeem fight that came up a couple weekends ago, winning 95% of that fight, 10 seconds left in the fight. Jairzinho finally finds that opening, lets that right hand go, and ends up dropping Overeem, ref stepping in, even though as Overeem standing up, he sees Overeem stumble, and you can see obviously the lip visibly split. Pretty horrifically too. Cyril Gane, on the other hand, he's coming off of also a knockout win over JDS. Pretty much starting to fight out slower, but looking to attack the legs. He kind of bounces a little bit more. He's more of a movement style guy. He even went for a headlock at one point on JDS. He was able to kick and throw punches. He's big guy, able to kick and throw a lot of shots from different range. It's something that makes him so kind of spectacular to watch. I don't see Cyril Gane as this kind of a one-trick pony. I think he's got a lot of tricks in the bag, and I think it's a bag that's just continuously getting filled with more experience and stuff like that. I think that later on in that fight, we saw, to start the second round, we could see that, taking those damage, the kicks, the punches from range from Gane, JDS was already kind of starting to look a little bit hurt, a little bit hesitant. That leg was definitely starting to look a little bit compromised. Cyril Gane ended up landing a good jab, and then an elbow right behind the ear that ended up finishing JDS. That was a great fight. I mean, that's a great knockout to have on your resume for sure.
Remember,
as far as
he's hit me in the back of the head. Shots in the back of the head.
Did I say that?
No, JDS.
No, JDS
I know
was
he did.
complaining after
I know
the
he
fight.
said that. He kept saying that. Yeah, he said that a million times at the fight. Yeah. I thought you were meant when
Like,
when
you're
me and you were watching that.
Turning up and keeling over and turning away from your opponent. So come on, JDS.
As far as the Tanner Boser fight, that's kind of a more athletic guy who can move on his hands and feet, and he's getting more athletic to begin with. I actually see him as kind of a similar body type to Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Obviously not as physically gifted, but still, he was more the aggressor in that fight, bouncing in and out well, switching stances well, landing well with the long straight shots. Ended up dropping Boser with a straight punch, and then just being very composed and calm, letting him back up, kept rocking him, cutting him well over the eye. It was a fight in which, Cyril Gane started to end up feeling himself and dictating the pace of the fight and how it would end up, taking, what would end up happening throughout that fight. I mean, definitely another firework main event in the UFC Apex. I was talking about it last night. Decreasing cage size really adds to the heavyweight bout in my eyes. On both sides, we have guys coming in from pretty extensive kickboxing backgrounds, consistently able to impress us when we see them fight. The true skill for a guy like Rozenstruik is the ability to have the power to land, and the ability to land that power. He definitely has the fluidity with his kicks too to bring a lot of different variables into this fight. He definitely is a lot more flat-footed, less movement-oriented compared to a guy like Gane, who, light on his feet, like I said, swapping stances constantly, and shooting kicks a lot from different positions. I think it's definitely a fight where Rozenstruik could rush a guy like Gane against the fence with the cage being so small, clipping him on the entry and finishing the fight. I mean, it's definitely totally possible. I mean, with guys of this caliber and the punching power, anything's possible. Even from what we saw last week, it only takes one. I believe the moment in the variability of strikes for Gane is what's going to gain him success in this fight. I think he's able to throw many different strikes off many different angles, slowly able to pick you apart with the kicks, and at the same time making you to close the distance. And that's when he angles off and comes back and throws those good shots. I see this fight playing out somewhat similar to the beginning of the JDS fight for Gane. Slower, somewhat methodical pace. Obviously, this being a 5-round main event, and we're seeing Gane go into his first 5-round main event. I mean, it's definitely a couple questions up to grabs for that. But I mean, even still, I think that setting up from shots from both men is going to be there throughout the fight. But I think that Gane is going to end up setting up more good shots throughout 2 and 3, and I somewhere see him ended up getting a finish within 2 or 3. I actually think maybe he ends up getting a submission around 2 or 3. But yeah, I do see him stopping Jairzinho at some point. But like I said, I think it's just as likely you could be on the other side of the fence saying, you know, Jairzinho's going to put something on him, and like he's been saying, he's going to derail the hype train. But I'm picking Cyril Gane in this fight. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. The guy's an absolute, he's a specimen. At 6'4", like obviously he's got a bit of a reach advantage over Rozenstruik. He's a bit more of like I guess like obviously they're both specimens as you said, but there's something about Gane's way he's able to move at his size, which poses a lot of problems to anybody in the UFC heavyweight division. Like he could definitely be a future champion. Like I don't think there's any doubt in that. Even like no matter what happens in this fight. That being said, like I think Rozenstruik, there was the Ngannou loss where he just got absolutely charged and taken out. Like I don't know if you call that an MMA fight. That's pretty much a street fight where he just got absolutely clipped. And I guess loss is a loss, but that's a Gane. So we'll take that with a grain of salt, I guess. But there's the experience with Rozenstruik on the feet. If this is going to end up turning into like a kickboxing match, pretty much. Like Gane definitely hasn't, obviously, like JDS. Obviously, I would say other than JDS hasn't fought somebody with this amount of experience, but like JDS at this point in his career, like he's kind of just been put up on a block for a lot of these guys to knock out. Unfortunately, like. It's sad to see, obviously, like the last, like, I don't know, once, like, but, especially, both, obviously, the Rozenstruik and the Gane knockouts are both pretty bad, but, I think Gane wins it, but, I think it's a closer fight than the odds reflect, but I'll let Dougie give his take before we flip over to this.
I'm going with Gane in this one too, because you know me, I always go with the more well-rounded fighter. And I do believe that Gane does have a bit of a striking advantage. I think it's close. And I think Rozenstruik's striking almost becomes underrated because a lot of people consider it sloppy and say he's a one-shot guy. I would completely disagree with that. I think he's a very highly skilled technical kickboxer. That being said, I think Gane takes this fight. He's more well-rounded. I really like him standing. I think he probably turns it into an MMA bout. I like that you said submission. I could definitely see a submission or ground and pound. I think Alistair Overeem definitely, he worked Jairzinho on the ground. He showed a lot of holes in his game. And I think Cyril Gane is a younger, stronger, very well-rounded mixed martial artist who can do whatever he wants to do with this fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think this is where he enters the title conversation 100%. I think he's a fight or two away after this one.
And we're going to talk about it. We'll talk about it once I end this, play the outro, take a piss, we'll talk for 30 minutes of banter.
Among the young crop of heavyweights, I think
we'll think about it. Like, and I don't even want to start talking about it now because we're going to
who's
going to fight Derek Lewis, right?
How old is he?
I'm 30.
30? Yeah, for a heavyweight, that's pretty young. That's right.
Well, let's look at the
athletic prime right there.
So they don't have just submission though. They just have it paired, right?
Yeah.
I'm honestly good with it paired. Honestly, I could see it being ground and pound either, and it being damn near even. I kind of like that. I'd take that.
I think they'll give us something nice for sub on Betway. You know what I mean? Where they split it.
I might throw a bit on sub, but I think my main bet is just going to be by finish.
I don't like that finish. I don't mind that finish line at all. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that's where most of my money's going to be, but a little bit will probably be on submission. It's a long time.
It's just so crazy though, because we've seen it. We've seen it from Rozenstruik.
That's what I mean.
It only takes a second. It only takes a slip up. You can be beating him for 25 minutes if you don't take him out of there. And like, as I said,
but that's the risk you take with all these heavyweights. I don't want to bet on that though. Like with Derek Lewis, it was fun and all. I wouldn't have bet on it without the boost.
True.
There could be another boost. Who knows?
If there's another boost on
boy
Rozenstruik
boost
by KO, I'll take it.
A biggie boy boost. You never know.
Imagine. They wouldn't.
I mean, that Derek Lewis boost saved my night last week. So
boost. Yeah, same with me.
But Pat, did you see that though? The Rozenstruik 12-1 decision. That's nuts. Imagine.
Well, what's Gane to win by decision?
3.75.
Could happen.
I think Rozenstruik could definitely win this one by decision.
Rozenstruik could win this fight, man. He looks fucking.
That's what I'm saying. At 3.75 to 1, we're kind of getting some crazy. It's kind of crazy. I don't think. I think I've obviously like what I said. I said he's going to be a future champion, or could be a future champion. But like, still, it's a UFC heavyweights. We saw it last weekend, and we don't need to be reminded about it.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, obviously both with the last win against JDS. Like
you got to look at that win too, though.
Sirogane can't
with
do.
Jairzinho, I think JDS was beating Jairzinho. With Gane, he was more in control of the fight. I had JDS winning round 1 against Jairzinho.
No, so did I. Yeah,
point.
so did I for sure.
I remember JDS was like, oh wow, look, JDS is looking pretty good. Comes out ranked.
I think I had a bit of money on
Bam,
JDS.
And it's just done. It's just done. I remember that. It's fucking
What are you gonna say other than that? I mean,
yeah,
I thought we rounded that up pretty well. We did that pretty quick. And any other talk? We're gonna shoot some shit, people, so don't leave. I'm just going to play the outro so I can cut it.
From Sirogane.
And then I'm gonna put timestamps in for everyone that's wondering or everyone that
my
wants
official
to come back.
my official pick will be I think it'll be Gane finish. But I'll be betting Rozenstruik on that line.
Yeah, with the odds, it's difficult to just look at
It'll be in something. I'd be lying to the people if I said otherwise.
There's a couple fights like that. There's always fights like that, people. It's about making money at the same time too.
I think obviously it's kind of crazy because we've
can't just always bet on the huge favorite.
No.
Yeah, well, because we've been seeing it recently, like co-main events. We've been seeing the underdogs absolutely coming in big time, and maybe some people would say, "Wow, maybe it's kind of crazy to just keep betting them." But at this point, it'd be kind of crazy not to throw a little action on some of these big dogs in the co-main main event position.
That's what I was saying to Pat at the start of last live stream. I said, you know what, the way things are going, I might just have to bet Derek Lewis. And look at that.
Yeah. And that's what and then I said, you convinced me. I said, that's a really good point. I said, I'm betting, taking the boost. But yeah, that's what saved our night. So people, I don't know if there's anything else for us to say right now. We're going to keep this conversation going. Like I said, don't leave if you don't want to or whatever. We appreciate you guys for coming out for everything. We're obviously will be going live on Saturday for these fights. Time-wise, we don't know yet. 5 or 6. I'm going to post it on the channel. I'll post the live and the link and the picture and shit earlier. And I'll post it as a reminder in case there's any differences and shit like that, because obviously we had it last time. Not only were we fucked up on time-wise last time because of the start, but I'm sure some of you guys were like, oh, there's fights already starting and shit like that. Didn't even know, right? I think we had a couple people in the comments say some shit like that. Yeah, it's like they came on at a random time. You know what I mean? A little bit earlier last week. Obviously shit happens with everything, with the weigh-ins and stuff like that. I mean, we appreciate you guys coming out. I'm going to play the outro, and we are going to roll into the banter section. Appreciate everybody.
Medic! Scalpel. I'd like to thank you guys for joining us on this glorious day. And a friend.
You aren't duping the doctor. I mean, the doctors look into your eyes.
Jeez, and the fight is over! Michael Chandler! What did I tell you, fools?
What's up, boys and girls? This is UFC lightweight Michael Chandler. I'm just telling you right now, if you don't go to YouTube and hop on the MMA Bet Surgeon channel, like and subscribe and ingest and digest some of the best UFC mixed martial arts and boxing predictions on the planet, on the internet, then you're doing it wrong. Appreciate you guys. See you at the top.